Georgia State! Sitting here again talking about the same things.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the FBS Report. We have officially transitioned into off-season mode as the college football season came to a close on Monday, last Monday. So we're going to be transitioning from that over to off-season mode where me and Red get to screw around a little bit more and have a good time. Speaking of which, Red, why don't you tell us what the show stands for, in case you don't know what FBS means?
FBS. I'm sorry, I had to freeze there for a second because just like my opinion on the weather outside, it stands for fucking bullshit. It is going to be negative 11 degrees at my house this Saturday after we got dumped 1.5 feet of snow in my front yard. Trust me, digging my fucking cars out today were not a fun chore at all. 3 hours of work later, and somehow I ain't dead. So, hey, we're all still here. We have power. We have some heat. My house is struggling to keep the house warm at this point. My electric bill is probably going to be $8,000 when we get through the polar vortex we're handling. So, hey, maybe donate to Squid's Milkshake Fund and my poverty fund tonight. With some super chats because oh boy, we're gonna fucking need to pay these heating bills. I know y'all are too, but still, hope if you're in California, you got disposable income, please. Save us. We're tired.
For the rest of you in the eastern part of the United States, I hope you guys are doing okay. The roads aren't too bad. For some of us, it probably is. Over here in Tennessee, it's not really all that bad in our area.
Yeah,
the roads are. I mean, that's not a guarantee just yet, because tonight is when it's supposed to get really bad, because last night it was the lowest it got was like in the 20s. So like none of the roads were even really able to ice out. But tonight it's going to get down in the single digits. And it's been raining all day yesterday, all day today. Something tells me that we're going to see a lot worse conditions tomorrow. So
yeah.
we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But
I know
roads were not bad.
We're already saying that this was over exaggerated. Well, it depends on where you live. If you were in North Carolina, South Carolina, they kind of got off easy a little bit. Not as much ice as they were fearing. But if you are in Mississippi, Arkansas, Texas, you guys just got absolutely nailed with the ice. And it's not going to get any better anytime soon. There is light at the end of the tunnel, though. By middle of next week, this polar vortex that we're currently underneath will move out. Temperatures will start to warm back up to more manageable actual winter temps, not this goddamn shit that even has polar bears drinking Coca-Cola pissed off because the cola freezes in the bottle. Because good God, I didn't work my real job today. I told them, hell no, I ain't coming in. There's just no way in hell I was driving in that shit. My roads still aren't fully cleared off, and they ain't going to be for a while. So
yeah, no, feel that. So also people say that they were disappointed, and I'm like, disappointed about what? I mean, yeah, you didn't get any snow, but it could have been way worse than what you got. If you got nothing, you got off easy.
Yeah, you're disappointed that your power didn't get knocked out because a bunch of trees got about 2 inches of ice on it, fell down and cut the power, and now you're not going to be spending the next week and a half in darkness while it's freezing fucking balls outside.
No, that would be my biggest concern, is if the power goes out, everything is doomed.
Yeah, seriously. Like, if the power goes out right now while we're streaming and it's not coming back on where I live, which shouldn't happen unless some dipshit crashes into a generator somewhere because we didn't get any ice. I just got 15 inches of snow in my front yard. I'd rather deal with that than ice. That, sleet, rain, all good with me. You get 1/4 inch of ice on the roads. Even Ohio is like, oh no, Mother Nature, what are you doing to us? We're not into this shit. This is some BDSM type weather. Like, it's abuse.
Yep, but good news, as Red said, eventually by next week, this will move on out and we'll get warmer weather. Unless you live in Vanderbilt, that fan base is always ice cold.
Hey, I mean, I could say the same about Michigan. They're literally frozen all the time.
True.
Mhm.
But yeah, if in case the title doesn't give it away, today we are going over the entirety of this season. And for a lot of us in here, the season brought us many, many wonders. Some of them good, some of them not so good. So we're going to go over and rank all the Power 4 teams 2025 college football season.
Mhm.
Some really good ones. We had some really bad ones. And then we had whatever the shit you call Syracuse season.
I
We'll get through all
honestly, that just to start off with Syracuse, just briefly mention that that's kind of like the equivalent of like the end of the movie Independence Day when he flies into the alien spaceship to blow himself up. He's like, "I'm back," and then kablamo.
Mhm.
Like you won the war, but at what cost?
No, that reminds me of another Doomsday movie, one starring Nicolas Cage,
Oh, no.
where instead of them winning, just everything blows up and everyone dies. Yeah, that's
Or-
what that reminded me of.
Or Don't Look Up with Leonardo DiCaprio on the Netflix movie they made.
Mhm.
Does
Does that mean Florida State's the Titanic?
No, it can't be, because nobody is Jack at Florida State, and they don't
Yeah,
deserve
true.
Rose. None of them deserve her.
Well, before we laugh at you and laugh at everybody else for whatever your season brought us, first we got to go over this week's transfer portal news, and we'll go over the rankings and where they stand right now. Not too much changed for the most part, but we did get a few significant transfers happen over the course of this week, starting with just an hour ago, Miami landed a new wide receiver transfer, JoJo Trader, or some of you know him as Josiah Trader. He was he was Miami's wide receiver. Guess what? Now they just lost a receiver. Read that wrong. He's now hit the transfer portal and committed to NC State. So hasn't signed yet, but NC State right now seems to have landed a new wide receiver.
Ooh, interesting. Keep in mind, the portal closed for everybody except for players at Miami and Indiana because they got an extra couple of days of grace period after the national championship game. So great pickup for NC State. Absolutely. A team that what was the name of the fucking head coach again? I can't remember off the top of my head. It's on
good old Dave Doran.
Dave Doran. That's
the legend of 8 or 7 wins.
I mean, this might get them to 8 wins next year. This pickup. Once again, NC State's guaranteed to win 8 wins because they got another weapon at wide receiver to replace the ones they lost once again. And the hamster wheel just keeps fucking spinning for them. Something's got to change for the Wolfpack. Jesus Christ.
Never stopped. Keep your eye on this one. This is a significant development. Oh, wait. Hold up.
Uh-oh.
Significant development.
Ah, fuck you.
Yeah, you knew that was coming. Significant development over at Washington. This happened about 5 hours ago. They landed yet another quarterback out of the transfer portal. This time, Stanford transfer Elijah Brown. Elijah Brown has had some ups and downs when I've watched him play. He's got starter potential if you give him time. I wonder if this is the move. I wonder if they're getting ready to bury Damon Williams. Part of me definitely wonders in regards to that.
Are they going to be that petty though? Like this is where I'm going to say like it's going to depend on what happens in spring practice. Like let's say Damon Williams gets out because what happened with Damon Williams is something that we are still trying to figure out in this new era of college football, where like a guy that tries to leave the portal but can't because of contract and all that bullshit. Is he still going to be able to commit to the team? They're not going to really know until they get into spring camp and actually start doing some reps and getting some work in. Because right now, everybody's kind of on break. Everyone's just kind of in class or getting enrolled at their new schools. So it's hard to say right now. They would be a fool to bury Damon Williams for what he did. To me, it seems like that the whole situation that went down was he was poorly represented and misinformed, either by the agent that left him, which if the agent left him, it may not be like that, or his family, or something else. Just something went horribly wrong in translation there, or he got allured by the fucking siren known as Lane Kiffin. Something like that. But Yeah, whatever. Point being, let's wait and see on that. I don't want to jump the gun and think that he's just going to get ostracized for an entire year because he's still under contract. He's still being paid by Washington to be there. So they got to make use of him if he's actually going to play. But if he shows up to spring camp and it's like, hey, don't really want to be here, you can cut his ass. I don't care.
Potentially so. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that one as it develops. Another big pickup here by NC State. I just talked about the Miami guy they picked up earlier, Josiah Trader, wide receiver. Well, now they picked up another one as of yesterday. Raul Aguirre from Miami, another pickup from the Canes. And this is a significant pickup for them because he was in line for a big role there at Miami. He was one of their top returning linebackers. Well, he hit the portal and is signed, not just committed, but signed with the Wolfpack.
What the fuck? Why would he leave Miami if he was going to have a starting role there? Money, I guess. Money talks, bullshit walks, or is it something else? I just had this thought. Other than Alberto Mendoza, who left Indiana to go to Georgia Tech last week, which we kind of saw that coming with Josh Hoover coming in. Has there been any other major names from Indiana that picked up and left for the portal? It seems like they're retaining all their players that have eligibility next year. At least all the good ones.
Yeah, for the most part, I haven't seen too much. Miami's having a way worse problem. It's worth noting that they did lose Hosea Wheeler, defensive lineman. They lost him. He hit the portal.
True, but I mean, it's just been name after name after name at Miami. And it's like literally, it's like the Hurricanes hit the iceberg with Indiana, and then they've just been slowly sinking and losing, players ever since. It does. And then meanwhile, Indiana, like I expected there to be a nice little exodus of players wanting to go get paid after winning a national title with Indiana. That's not really happening though, for whatever reason.
I think a lot of the reason why they lost that guy, Miami specifically, was because Miami's also bringing in talent from other schools. They're bringing in Damon Wilson from Missouri. And let me tell you, that is a big pickup right now. Now, he's not a linebacker, but he's going to be playing in that front seven consistently. And I wonder if it does have something to do with that. But they went through a tear in the portal. They got a bunch of guys coming in.
Yeah,
my main concern in Miami is what are they going to do in regards to linebackers? Because they also lost Bobby Washington too.
Yeah, which was a huge loss for them. I mean, if you're not able to convince your players to stay at Miami to try and go back and get that ring next year, and you can't pay them to stay, and they were going to be starters, that's a culture problem. Because Miami has the resources. I mean, $10 million to Darian Mensah for the offer, even though he's currently stuck at Duke because of pending lawsuit litigation. And you can't seem to keep these other fucking guys.
Yeah.
You went to the national title with these guys. I understand it. I see the argument everybody else is making in here in chat. Well, Indiana players want to repeat. Sure, everybody wants to fucking repeat, but there's also like, I guess it's a mindset, a mentality with like compare. I've heard it before somewhere that Big Ten schools and Big Ten teams have a different mindset. I'm not talking about Ohio State. I'm not talking about Michigan. I'm talking about the other guys. Everybody else in the Big Ten, not from the cream of the crop, that are more of a team player and they're there for their school more than they are being there for themselves. And Indiana, yeah, they were number one in the nation, won it all last year. They're not considered cream of the crop, and they fell squarely in that line. So maybe that's got something to do with it. I'm just spitballing, though. I have no idea.
Who knows? We'll keep an eye on that as it progresses.
Oh, Zap, you just hit on the head. Could you say it? The Big Ten is a different league.
Not a different conference, different league.
I mean, yeah. Right now, 3 straight natties in the triangle of hate. Ohio, Indiana,
here's something for you. Here's something for you. I challenge all of you guys in the comment section right now to look outside, and if it's dark outside, Jaden Rashad hit the portal again. He's gonna become one of our regulars here. Every single season on the FBS report, hit the transfer portal again, as we all expected, and he's now signed with Mississippi State. Interesting development here. So he left Georgia, didn't even play for them because he couldn't cut at the SEC level, went to Sacramento State, and now he hit the portal again, and now he's back to Mississippi State. Is he going to see the field? I wonder.
No.
Or is he going to try and sue one of the coaches for not playing him? Who knows at this point? He might demand a bigger bag and then
wait a goddamn minute. He sued a coach for not playing him?
No, that last part was misinformation.
Oh.
But no, he did sue Billy Napier. Billy Napier. He did sue him in regards to the bag. He in
regards to the bag.
I think it was a contract negotiation. Didn't get enough in that regard. It was a big deal when it happened.
I remember last season, not this past one, but the one before, where a quarterback at UNLV hit the portal or announced he was transferring after week 4 because he was not getting the money he was promised to by the assistant coaches at UNLV. Can't remember his fucking name, but I mean, that's unfortunately going to be a pretty common thing with the smaller conference schools, at least, where you're promised one thing and then a donor backs out and, well, you're suddenly left holding the bag.
Right.
So, but hey, that's I wish he would have sued his head coach, because how fucking funny of a lawsuit that would be. Your Honor, he didn't play me. What's your stats, kid? Boy, these stats are terrible. Of course he didn't play you. Case dismissed.
Thank you for the $2 super chat, X Deep, when he says, I sue Billy Napier for impersonating a coach.
Life in prison.
Yep. Guilty as charged. Good luck, James Madison. He's your problem.
Matt Sluka. That's who it was. Thanks, chat. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, that was a big deal, too. Yeah. But they ended up better off, honestly.
Oh, my God, yeah. Seriously. Desert Rat Dan Mullen turned the Rebs around after that shit show and brought them all the way back. I mean, they didn't make it past the Mountain West Championship or anything, but still a great season for them.
Well, I'm talking about the year before, because that's when it happened, midway through the season. And then out of nowhere, new guy comes in, plays even better. Brought them to the Mountain West Championship.
Yeah, so I mean, in general, the Rebs, they never suffered from it. You couldn't tell they had a money issue right now.
Right. Tennessee went on a tear in the portal as of recently.
Yeah,
picked up three significant commits. Now, okay, well, I have to choose my words carefully on
that. Breaks, kid.
I don't know how significant a tight end from UT Martin is, but I consider it significant. Drake Martinez, tight end from UT Martin, has officially committed to Tennessee. Along with him, this is a significant pickup, no matter which way you say it.
Sure.
Jadias Richard, corner from Miami, was set to play as a big role there for the Canes. Another transfer for them. He is committed to Tennessee, and that is a big pickup for the Vols. Going to do well in the Jim Knowles system, I think.
We'll see. I mean, results may vary. I'll just tell you that from previous experience. The results may vary. The Jim Knowles experience goes one of two ways. You either have a 10-win season or you get Happy Valleyed. That's the way it goes.
Entire team could accumulatively come out and shit on the floor in the very first game, and I swear to you, that is better than anything I've seen from Tim Banks. So lay off me with that. Anyway, that's not the only guy. Idaho State transfer.
Brown and orange now.
Yeah, right. Idaho State transfer wide receiver, also a return specialist, not just a receiver. Ian Duarte, I think is how you pronounce his name. He has committed to Tennessee as well. Yeah, he had over 500 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns. Significant pickup for the Vols, in my opinion. No. I was worried we weren't going to do much in the portal, but we've seemed to have done a whole lot better than
y'all have no choice. Y'all had no choice. Y'all had a great roster last year, and you fucking wasted it, in my opinion.
The defense. Tim Banks wasted it.
Your offense was pretty damn good last year, but yeah, Tim Banks just he just shat all over your guys' end zone. And then literally everywhere was just shit on that thing.
Don't forget Guangdong Gilbert. That's also worth noting.
I was wondering why when I drove by Knoxville on my way back down to Gatlinburg to meet you last summer, I smelled shit as I drove by the stadium.
courtesy of the Vanderbilt Commodores.
Oh.
Anyway, Tennessee strays out of the way. Let's check in on our transfer portal rankings, shall we? Those are very, very important. I'm trying to look them up, and for whatever reason, it's showing up the team. One more significant commit. The LSU fans are going to love this. Their weekly legendary pickup for Elaine Kiffin.
Legendary.
Yes, well, he's the top offensive lineman transfer. Jordan Seaton from Colorado. He has officially committed to LSU as of 2 days ago. And that is a big pickup for LSU. They desperately needed a new offensive lineman.
They did.
And a guy like Seaton will do it. That'll do a lot of work for him.
Poor Garrett Nussmeier at the end of the season was just a walking zombie. He had taken so many shots. It was ridiculous. They needed an offensive line that knows how to, protect the quarterback and blow up in holes for the running back to get through. Do I think that LSU is going to be able to do that? No. I really have. You could say they got the goddamn best transfer portal class coming into next year, and I could tell you right now they're not making the SEC championship game. No way, no fucking how. You know why? It's really goddamn hard for snake oil to cure your illnesses, and there is no better snake oil salesman out there than Lane fucking Kiffin.
Different leagues, don't forget.
Different leagues.
Well, in terms of transfer portal news, or at least the significant parts of it, that's about where it stands. There isn't really much else to go over in regards to that. Now it is worth noting because we're going to be going over real quick. I want to go over the team rankings. Most of it has remained the same. LSU jumps even higher. The top 10 has remained the same. There's a few jumps. I think like Tennessee moved up a little bit. We're now at 22. South Carolina's up ahead by 21. Michigan is moving up in the rankings. They've gotten to 16.
Can you show the ranking?
What's that?
Can you show it? So the audience can follow along?
No, that's just it. There really isn't much else to go over. But here's the most important thing. And I don't know if I think the news got to 247 about what happened last show. I think it got to 247. The Buffalo Bills is not on here anymore.
Okay. Yeah, I think somebody
that's what I think everybody wanted to know. And good news that I do not see the Buffalo Bills anywhere on here anymore.
Do not worry. Bills Mafia was not tampering in the transfer portal, unlike a certain snake, allegedly. We don't need to worry about the Bills. Now, I did hear a rumor that the Falcons were considering it because of how god fucking awful their situation is in Atlanta, but they have been told to shut the fuck up by the league.
Mm-hmm.
The Buffalo Bills, future MAC champions, maybe.
Well, yeah, if we're going off of that, then keep an eye on the New York Jets too. That's very important.
They're so stupid they didn't even know a transfer portal exists.
I believe it.
The kids might tell the owner, and he'll be like, oh, "You damn kids don't know shit."
All right. Well, then it's about that time. I wanted to go. So I sort of set this up. This was actually a tier list made by somebody else where they just had all of the 60s, like the 66, 67, however many Power 4 teams are in there. Oregon State and
apologies.
Yeah, we'll get to you in a little while. But Oregon State and Washington are also in there. So I couldn't remove them.
What?
So for Oregon State and Washington State, yeah, good news. You're going to be included in this.
One of us.
Yeah. Viber Technician, member for 6 months, much appreciated, says on threes rankings over 247s. Who cares?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. I mean, it's just
you look at both, and moreover, they're the same. I mean, I looked at on threes too. There's not much of any differences. The only difference was the Buffalo Bills wasn't there.
I was gonna say that's the only difference between the two. Is like, hey, at least the intern that put the rankings in there didn't know that the Buffalo Bills were in the NFL.
Yeah, well, there are a couple of differences, but like again, all it would do is just like actually Illinois transfer portal classes up from 40 to 39. who cares?
I mean, we gotta care about these stat nerds, right? Like this is the lifeblood of our operation right now. The stat nerds.
I guess so.
It is the foundation of a good podcast.
You're only saying that because you might be one. Dumb Gamers with the 5. Thank you very much. Says Houston better get an A for going on one of the worst teams in the Big 12 to winning the Texas Bowl.
You are still one of the worst goddamn, what was it, 9 wins they got last season, 10 wins?
Well, we're ranking these. We're ranking in all of these based on fan perception. This isn't. I mean, we're going to put our opinions in on that too, but a lot of this is going to be based on fan perception. Basically, what I've seen from the fan bases in regards to how their season has gone. And most people, I imagine, will agree with me. Squid to the Illini confirmed. I wouldn't mind taking a trip up there to see what it's like. Not right now, because I don't want to go through those roads.
Your car would literally explode because it's too used to the south.
By the way, Rotisserie, a new member of Tardaria. Thank you very much, good sir. Welcome. All right, then let me get this up on the board here.
We're about ready to, everyone's asking, like, what's your opinion on this team? What's your opinion on that team? We're about to get into it right now.
Yeah, here are all the teams on the list here, every single one of them.
Wait. I thought you said power conferences only. What the fuck's Notre Dame doing there? They're not in a conference. All right.
I wish I could do that. I wish I could do that. All right. Alabama's up first. And this is a hard one to go with because they had a better season than last year, which most Bama fans considered an absolutely massive disappointment. I think if we're basing this based off of fan perception, I'm going to give it a B. I think because they made it to the playoffs, but they got blown out in the SEC championship. They got blown out in their second playoff game, but they did win a playoff game and had a better year than last year. So that's why I think it's somewhere around a B. This isn't based on how good the teams are or how good they performed or strength of record or anything like that. This is mostly fan perception. The rest of it is
our own
opinions. Yeah. Red, do you agree with that?
I mean, I was straddling the line between A and B because I'm looking at it as an outsider that's not even an SEC guy and just saying from a pure outsider's perspective, they didn't win the SEC championship, but you still made the playoffs. You still won a goddamn playoff game on the road, first team to do it. I mean, if you're an Alabama fan that's actually of sound mind, you're probably happier about this season than you were last year. You made some improvements. I would say an A, but I understand why you're putting them at B. It's a thing. We'll average it out as we go along, obviously. Right. But I don't hate B, but it's like a high B for me.
Yeah. It'd be like a B plus.
Sure, B plus. That's fair.
Rotisserie, a member for 11 months. Thank you very much. Says the MAC should be considered a power conference. Said nobody ever.
What?
Well, also that's a troll comment. It's because Western Michigan beat Kennesaw State, and he's a Jacksonville State fan, and the Conference USA got belt to ass from the MAC this year. So,
I mean,
got to give him some credit where it's worth. But thank you very much for the message. General Miley with the 10. Thank you very much. Says lifelong Florida fan here. I was on the lane train, and it was the donor who built our new baseball field who stopped the train from coming to Florida. It hurts, but I think we dodged a bullet. Well, you'd be the center of drama, but I think Kiffin would have made y'all immediately better.
I mean, yeah, but like from what I was hearing, him button heads with the athletic director and their couple of conversations they had, I think it would have been an absolute shit show from the get-go.
For the short term, it would have been really good, but for the long term,
sure.
Yeah, that's where the problem would arise.
You would have had one really fun season where everything seemed to be going right, and then
we'll get into it momentarily. All right, Arizona State. Arizona State's a bit of an oddball here because they had some. Obviously, their season, and I'm going to pull up their schedule for you guys so that you can see it in real time. But their schedule, obviously, they were nowhere near the team that they were last year. The loss of Cam Skibity showed that. They had some head-scratching losses. The loss of Mississippi State really hurt. Lost to Utah big. That loss to Houston really hurt, which, again, they wound up being good as well. And then losing to Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. But they had some really good wins as well. The one, they had the hard fought battles against Baylor and TCU, specifically circling that win against Texas Tech at home. That was the Texas Tech's only loss in the Big 12. That was a really good win right there. So while it was a disappointment from some Sun Devil fans, it was marginally a good year for him. So I'd say it's a B.
I would disagree.
What do you think? It was worse or better?
I think it was worse. You beat Texas Tech, but Texas Tech's starting quarterback was injured. So that dings it for me a little bit. I mean, let's just call a spade here. It's a lot better than what it was with Herm Edwards a couple of years ago. But you look at where they were. They got to the top of the mountain, the Big 12, had all the momentum on their side, and then literally all it took was one or two guys leaving, and the whole thing just caved in on itself. Sam Levitt really disappointed me in how I thought he was going to perform. I figured he was going to come out and be competing for a Heisman. His wide receiver core was just way too weak. Just did not get enough going there, and the running game was non-existent. I mean, they got a couple of wins. The game against Texas Tech, I think, was a fluke. Genuinely, I think it was a fluke because Tech was injured. I would go C. It's definitely a disappointment. You're still better off than what you used to be, but yeah.
We'll stick with C then. I mean, people could say excuses, but they still won that game. I mean, there were several games where Tech had their quarterback out or hurt, but I mean, they won those games too. I mean, it wasn't entirely a fluke. Sam Levitt played an incredible game that day, over 300 yards.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't a fluke.
Yeah, he played a great game, but he wasn't consistent at all. He was very wishy-washy all season long and just made nothing worked. I mean, it would occasionally work, but it wouldn't consistently work. It was like an engine with no oil in it. Like it'll run for a few minutes and then it'll blow up.
Yeah, right. All right, well, moving on from Arizona State, we're going to go to Arizona, and I'll pull up the schedule again for you guys so that you can see it. But from just first analysis beyond anything else, they had a pretty good year. Because let's not forget, 2024 Arizona was a turd stain. They were really bad. And then go into this year, and they wound up actually being pretty good. They lost to BYU in double overtime. That was a painful loss. Blown out by Iowa State, which hurt. Lost to SMU in a pretty close game. But for the most part, I mean, they had some pretty good wins as well. And they blew out a couple of key competition. The blowout against Colorado, Oklahoma State, beat Cincinnati in a close one. So yeah, overall, I think Arizona had themselves a pretty good year. I would go A on Arizona.
Oh yeah. I absolutely would say this was an A team, not just because of the logo, but yeah, A for Arizona. From where they were last year to where they finished, it was a major improvement. I was stunned. I was shocked. I did not think Arizona was going to turn around that quickly, and they surprised the hell out of me. So great job, Wildcats. See what the hell happens next year with you. But hell of a great start for them on this cycle of the rebuilding.
Right. All right, Arkansas. Yeah, we don't really need to go over this one too much. I think we already know where this one's got to go. Yeah. You want to talk about a team that got cooked like bacon the entire way? Not many teams got it worse than Arkansas. It wasn't even just the fact that they lost. They won 2 games this year. They won 2 games and then lost, I think, 10 straight. And it's not even the fact that they lost those games. It was that they were competitive through it, and then through coaching malpractice and several marquee mistakes, including fumbles, they just blew it every single time in true Arkansas Razorback fashion. I mean, you cannot say it. This was an Arkansas Razorback season to a T, because literally all they did the entire way through was shoot themselves in the foot, and it resulted in Sam Pittman getting fired. Yeah, I think it's F.
I mean, I only have one thing to say, and it's not even me saying anything. Move on.
Very accurate. Very accurate. General Miley with the 5. Thank you very much. Says, also, I think Strickland has a job because of Todd Golden winning March Madness and the Natty last season. Oh, duh. That's a given right there. That's why y'all are never getting rid of Scott Strickland. The football program may be a sacrificial lamb, but y'all got basketball natties, so there you go.
No. Well,
all right.
Let's get on with Auburn, and this one's well.
I can't. I don't know if it was as bad as Arkansas's. I think Auburn fans went into this year kind of having hopes and expectations that they'd wound up being better, and then it completely fell apart regardless. And it's not even that. Again, it's the same problem as Arkansas, but to a lesser degree. They lost a lot of games, but instead of they didn't get blown out in any capacity, but rather they just kept shooting themselves in the foot and blowing it. I think what really ruins this for Auburn, the separation between a C season and a D one for me is that Kentucky loss. That was Kentucky's only win in the SEC the entire season. But on top of that, I mean, you lost to A&M, you lost to Oklahoma. Also, it's the fact that I think Auburn they definitely got a big old ref ball screw job too in a lot of their games.
I mean,
but that's they had many other opportunities to win those games and they just pissed them away. So in my opinion,
honestly,
Auburn's a D.
The only reason why I'm not saying Auburn is an F is because they did open the season with a great road game win over Baylor and their high-powered offense. They had that one little diamond in the porta potty. That was their season. After that, just fucking flush it all. It's your season. Auburn's season ended week 1. You got a great win over Baylor in Baylor, and the whole damn show. And you could have just said roll credits, and that would have been it. And you would have missed nothing because you could argue like the referees, the SEC refs struck. The SEC refs fucked over a lot of teams this year. It wasn't just Auburn. So we don't have the ability to say, well, poor Auburn, nor would I ever say poor Auburn. I bet 4 wins for Auburn and they won 5, I think it was. So like, I'm not surprised at all. Solid D tier material here. It was just not quite boo you stink level, but definitely you're gonna get a little bit of this.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's nothing else. D gets that. F tier is just boo you stink.
Yeah.
Or just
speaking of Baylor, boy, kind of tough where to find out to put them. No doubt this has been a disappointing year for the Bears. I think we can all agree on that. They made a bowl last year. This year they didn't even get there. Finished the season 5-7. Had several blowout losses, really bad. That bad loss to Auburn at the start of the year. They did get the win over SMU, and that is a pretty good win for them. That's a pretty good win in overtime. But I mean, you look at some of these other losses. They let teams go up and down the field on them. TCU, I think they finished with like 500 yards in that game. It was absolutely insane. Utah put up 55 on them. Arizona with 41 points. And then they finished the season with the loss to Houston when they very well could have won that game and at least made it to a bowl. So in my opinion, this year, and here's the worst part for him: Dave Aranda didn't even get fired. They didn't even bother to go through with that. So in my opinion, I'm looking at D tier for Baylor as well.
Yeah. Look, as
you got to put them behind Auburn because they lost to him.
I like, good God, what do you want me to say? You had a really decent, they had a good offense. They had a good offensive attack this year. And I knew coming into the season, like it was all going to be on that defense. That defense has to show up. And you know what? The defense never fucking showed up. They didn't show up one fucking time, consistently giving up 40 points per game down the home stretch. I mean, it's not even close. The only reason why it's not an F is because they actually won a few games and they didn't look terrible in them, and their offense was actually worth a shit. So
yeah, Sawyer Robinson was good, but he can't be a one-man band. He's not going to be able to win them all your games.
It's incredibly shameful that Dave Aranda came back, especially knowing that he came from LSU as a defensive coordinator. So yeah, this is just shit. D tier, but fuck you, Baylor. Get your shit together.
Oh yeah, you want to talk about shit? I got some shit for you. Boston College. Holy hell! Let's look over their season, shall we?
Dishonor on your whole family. Make a note of this. Dishonor on you. Dishonor on your cow.
How do you get worse?
Yeah, worse than anything I can imagine. 10-game losing streak for Boston College, similar to Arkansas. They finished 2-10. Won only one won against only one Power Four competition, and it was whatever dead carcass Syracuse was dragging out at the end of the season. They lost all of their games, and most of them they weren't even close to anything competitive. Their offense was an absolute disaster. Turbo Richard was good, and he got better as the season progressed, but that's all they had. And he, like I said, the same thing I could say with Baylor, you could apply with Boston College to an even worse degree. They can't win a game with just one guy. And they had a couple of games where they had a shot and at least were competitive. Georgia Tech, for example. And then UConn, they were competitive with them for a while, but like you lose to teams like UConn and Stanford, as long as everybody else. I mean, they just got worse and worse as the season progressed. So in my opinion, the Golden Farts are an F tier.
There are very few teams on this rankings list that I feel like we're going to put in. Well, there's probably going to be quite a few teams we'll end up putting in the F spot, but like there's very few teams that I look at and I'm just like, dude, what the actual fuck was your plan here? Like, I don't even know what to say about Boston College. It was just week after week, game after game, non-stop failure. I'm not even going to give them boo, you stink. They're worse than Arkansas, in my opinion, in terms of F tier. They're going to get the whole...
Go to the church and ask God to forgive you.
What Catholics? Good God Almighty.
Right.
Save them. Save their souls.
Yeah, no, they're absolutely terrible. Okay, let's move on from that turd stain and move on to a much better team, BYU. They finished second in the Big 12, had themselves a pretty damn good year. And I think, in all honesty, we'll look at their schedule to show you guys, but people are going to bring up their double losses to Texas Tech and how they weren't competitive in those games, but they won every other game that they played. And most of them was in dominant competition. Barely beat Colorado, but they did win that game. I mean, but they had several other marquee wins. Beat Utah, and that was a really good win right there. Blew out TCU. Same for UCF. Blew out them as well. Beat Arizona in double overtime, and then of course won the Pop-Tart Bowl against Georgia Tech. And with all the the offseason foolishness with Jake Ratzlaff and the whole. He how dare he have sex type of thing. In my opinion, I think BYU's an S. With fan perception, this team went well above and beyond where a lot of fans thought BYU was going to go.
I would love to give BYU an S, but I can't. I cannot get past the fact that despite everything, they couldn't figure out how to beat Texas Tech when all they needed was to play defense just a little bit better. It's a really if you look at it from a fan perspective, sure, I'm sure that
a lot of them thought they weren't making a bowl.
Yeah, but the fact that, man, I'm on the edge. I would say if I'm going to give him any ranking, it'll be like A++. I can't give him an S, but if you want to give him an S, I'll allow it.
I'm gonna because that's in my opinion where they stand. I mean, I guess we could leave it up to the people in the chat if they want to give their votes in there.
What do you fuckers think? You think it's A tier or S tier?
Do you think BYU had an S tier season from a fan perspective or an A tier season?
You give the Pop-Tarts Bowl champ an S tier, damn it. S.
Yeah, they won the daggum Pop-Tarts Bowl.
A+, A tier, A+. Some fucking fucker said B. Like, holy shit, dude. What the hell's A then?
That's a Utah fan. Gotta be.
Oh, okay. I'm getting a lot of A's, a handful of S's. It looks like it's leaning A in the chat.
Right. We'll lower it to A, but yeah, it's
above Arizona though. Above Arizona, like they're top of the A tier. I think that's fair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is fair. All right, down over to California. Second year in the ACC, and well, I think they missed Fernando Mendoza. Now they did finish with a winning season, finished 7-6. Not a terrible year, but they had some really bad losses. They started off really strong, beat Minnesota in week 3. JKS, their freshman quarterback, looked really, really good. Then then everything just fell apart in week 4 when they lost to San Diego State 34-0. They had a couple of wins after that, beat North Carolina, Boston College. The win over Louisville was really good. The one on the road at Louisville. That's probably the highlight of their season. And then, of course, they derailed the entire conference by beating SMU. So it's hard to say. I mean, Cal necessarily didn't have a disappointing year, but they didn't have a great year. I'd put them in C tier.
I was going to give them a B.
You think so?
I think so. You go back to schedule, and I'll explain why. You look at the games they win from this past season. All of the games they won kind of meant something, and it showed us something about Cal. Their 34-0 thumping over San Diego State showed how great JKS can be. The game they won against SMU absolutely sent the ACC into full chaos mode, and it made them matter. Cal fucking mattered in a conference championship race for the first time in how long? Like, when was the last time we could say that about them, ACC or Pac-12? So, I mean, that's improvement. And the best
probably
part
the
is,
first 2 weeks Marshawn Lynch was in college, but that's it.
well, yeah, but the best part is they fired their head coach and they get a brand new start next year. I mean, to me, I would give Cal a B- because they accomplished a lot while still managing to do very little. And I think that's extremely impressive. And I just realized my fucking channel logo was still in the right-hand corner of the show this whole damn time.
You're the only one who noticed that, probably.
I was just looking around the screen.
I didn't say anything about it.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Whatever.
Yeah,
I would say B tier, but, hey, I get your arguments as to why Cal is in there. They start with a C, so sure.
Chat, what do you think? Should Cal be
my
B
bad.
tier or C tier?
Was Cal shut out by San Diego State, or was it San Diego State?
Yes,
oh.
yes, that's what I said.
Never mind, I misheard
Sometimes
you.
I get the feeling you just don't listen to me.
No, I motherfucker, I listen to you. Okay,
yeah.
That's my bad. That's my bad. Put him in C tier. I'm sorry. I fucked up.
Right. Most of the chat's saying C tier.
No.
We'll stick him right there with a good old Arizona State. All right, next up. Cincinnati, the Bearcats of Cincinnati, second year in the Big 12, and all things considered, not a bad season overall for the Bearcats. They struggled early. The loss to Nebraska, a lot of people felt that Cincinnati wasn't going to go to a bowl after that, but they rebounded hard. Won 7 straight, which was really good, and then that's when everything came apart after the loss to Utah. You go past their bye week, and then they lose to Arizona, BYU, TCU, all good teams. So, like, you look at that, you're like, oh, okay, that, like that those aren't bad losses. And then they get blown out in the Liberty Bowl by Navy and whatever.
Without their starting quarterback.
Whatever. Yeah, it was without Sorsby, granted, but yeah, like that didn't look all that great for him. So I guess, we not many fans really cared about it all that much, but I think that 4-game losing streak kind of came off as a little bit of a disappointment considering they won 7 games straight. So it was a mix of good and bad for the Bearcats. Winning season, 7-6 overall record. I'm teetering on B. Might give them C. Red, where do you stand?
Give them a B. And the reason why I say give them a B is because they had a lot of, wait for it, development.
Yes,
from last year where they weren't even making a bowl game. So, like, they came back. Sorsby excelled this year with the Bearcats. They were their head coach was on the hot seat coming into this season. Like, they had to do something, step up and get their shit together. And sure enough, they were able to accomplish that and then some. It took think about this. 3 of their 4 losses were against the top of the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
The TCU was a rough loss, obviously, but like it's TCU. They have Josh Hoover. They had Josh Hoover. He's no longer there now, but good team as well. Those are games that, as from what I heard around Cincinnati, Bearcats fans weren't too disappointed about those losses. It hurt. It sucked. They thought that, maybe the Bearcats were coming back, but you know what? It was a great season considering where they were. So yeah, B tier for me. Really good start, but I don't think they're going to be able to do it again next year. Just they got decimated in the portal again, and it's just that was their moment. That was the culmination of a couple of years of building, and probably ain't going to get much better than that for a little bit.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. Yeah, B tier, considering their stance was not all that bad. All right, Clemson. Now I want to go ahead and throw this out there for Clemson. This is worth noting with them. So going over their schedule really fast. So 7-6 record for preseason number 4. Got beat by LSU early at the start of the season, and past that point, everything fell apart. We all saw that game against Troy, and all their nightmares came to fruition after that game. Lose to Georgia Tech, lost to Syracuse, lost to SMU, lost to Duke when they went for 2. And then at the end of the year, you lost to the most disappointing team in college football in Penn State. And so this is why it's worth noting this with Clemson specifically.
I'll be back in a minute.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. He didn't want to think about Clemson either. I can't blame him. But in regards to fan perception, thank you for that. In regards to fan perception, Clemson to me is an F. To me, Clemson is absolutely an F tier in terms of fan perception. What you can't think of a more disappointing team other than Penn State, and we'll get into that later on down the line. But Clemson, I mean, you bring back Cade Klubnik, you bring an incredible defense with transfers. This is the first time Dabo actually did something within the transfer portal. He brought in a whole bunch of key players. Will Help, for example. On top of that, it was a team that looked to be unexploitable with no holes. And on top of that, all of that, this was probably the most submissive ACC that we've seen in a while. And that's really saying something because they were terrible the year before as well. Clemson made the playoffs at 9-3. That's how bad the ACC was. And they were even worse this year. And Georgia, you lose to Georgia Tech. On top of that, you lose to everybody else down the stretch, to any other competent opponent that you played against. And the Clemson fans have gotten to a point where they're just completely fed up with Dabo Swinney. It's either that or you're like, oh, he's such a good guy. I've heard more talking from Clemson fans about how Dabo Swinney is a good guy than ever before. And that's usually the swan song that tells you he's getting ready to get canned. Either that or big changes are coming very, very soon. So yeah, I'll let Red give his thoughts too on this. But to me, Clemson is a very obvious F tier because most Clemson fans were disturbed with how this season went. Plus, from an analytical standpoint, this is the worst Clemson team in terms of record. This was as bad as it got since year 1 of the Dabo Swinney era. And that goes all the way back to when? 2009, I believe. It's a terrible, down, horrendous year for Clemson. And like I said, I'll let Red come back and give his thoughts when he arrives back from wherever he's at. Colorado, the Colorado Buffaloes. Deion Sanders in his 3rd year as the head coach of, oops, spelled that wrong, as the Buffs head coach. And boy, this was a shite. This was an absolutely shite year for Colorado. Lose at the start of the year to Georgia Tech. And then from there, everything just crashed and burned. You lose a whopping majority of your Big 12 games. They finished with what? One Big 12 win. They went 1-8 in the Big 12. Their lone win was against Iowa State before their bye. But then you get blown out by Utah, Arizona. You lose to Rich Rod's West Virginia team, Neo Rich Rod. Yeah, this was an ugly year for Colorado. And they had a lot of high hopes because, it's not like Hadon Salter was supposed to be better than Shedeur Sanders. But like there was a reason why, he was the starting quarterback, or at least that's what I thought. Maybe there was a much bigger reason as to why Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter got their jersey numbers retired, because they were just that horrendous. So, yeah, in my opinion, F tier season for Colorado. Most people have come to the conclusion that Deion Sanders is not a real head coach and has no idea what he's doing. And so we're probably going to stick with that and say that maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's getting ready to go to Florida State or something. I mean, we'll see. We'll find out in due time. Yeah, that's what I say. Yeah, at least Shedeur Sanders' number was retired. Might be a big reason. Might be a really, really big reason behind that one. A 404 page is appropriate for Colorado. It might have been better off to keep it that way. It was less disturbing than actually seeing their schedule in real time. Deion would be the Browns head coach to help Shedeur. A lot of people think that. A lot of people think that Deion is getting ready to jump ship as soon as Colorado lets him, and he's gonna go be a coach for Shedeur. But what is he gonna do there? What role is the Brown? What are they gonna let him have? I don't think he'll actually contribute anything significant over there. I think most of the national media, and especially the draft agents, see the whole Sanders family as sort of a clown parade. Who, I mean, Dan Lanning said it best. They fight for social media points. That's at least what I think. I don't know where everybody else stands on that. Yeah, again, yeah, a lot of people think that he's getting ready to bounce over there. Heard almost nothing about this team this year. Defense was terrible. F tier, maybe D tier at the highest. Yeah, and most people are going to stand with that in terms of the Buffaloes. Same with Clemson, and we're going entirely based off of fan perception here. And nobody got it worse than like teams like Clemson, Colorado, Arkansas. None of them got it as bad as that. Squidtard Sports, I'm suffering without the Chick-fil-A peach milkshake and need summer to get here. Feel that. Right there with you on that one. Dumb Gamers, appreciate the 5, says, real knowers know that Deion is the Browns' next head coach, only because Jimmy Haslam is a hack who traded for Diddy Watson. There's a conspiracy out there that once Norvell gets fired from Florida State, that they're getting ready to pick up Deion Sanders as well. And I'm thinking there as to why, you fire a bad head coach for a worse head coach. Only Florida State could do something that dumb, that absolutely brain dead. But I don't know. I mean, we'll see. Okay, I guess we'll move on to Duke here, the Duke Blue Devils. Now, here's the thing with Duke. Yes, they lost 5 games this year. You got to take that into account when talking about this squad. And not only did they lose a few games, but they lost in some pretty bad ways, specifically losing to Tulane. Darian Mensah transfers from Tulane to Duke and then gets beat by the team he transferred from. That was a pretty ugly loss, but Tulane wound up being a really good team that made the playoffs. So, there's only so much you can go off of in regards to that, but you get blown out by Illinois, lose to Georgia Tech when you had a bye week to prepare. You lose to UConn too, and that is an ugly loss. I know UConn was a good team too, but no, if you are a halfway decent Power 4 team, you have no business losing to a team like UConn. I'm just throwing that out there. But again, it's worth noting, obviously, because of the ACC's tomfoolery, they got it together and they won the ACC. So, in my opinion, for Duke, I'm lingering on anywhere from B to A tier. Because, yes, they had a couple of really bad losses. Yes, Manny Diaz, for several points in this season, looked like he had absolutely no idea what he was doing in terms of coaching. But he pulled through, and he won the ACC. So, again, I'm leaving it up to you guys here. Would you say it's a B season or an A one? It's hard for me to really come up with a conclusion in that regard. Let's see. B tier, A, B, B plus, A, S for screwing over Notre Dame. A tier, B plus, B, A, B, B, S, A, B, B. Yeah, I think we're gonna go B tier on Duke. Because yes, had a couple of bad losses, had won the ACC, had a couple of good wins there too. So got to throw all that in a mixed bag together. And I think most Duke fans can agree that they had an above average season. But let's be real here. If if the ACC tiebreakers didn't work how they did, they probably this was probably a C tier season, somewhere around that range. Alex Deep One, thank you very much for the 2. Says up next the FSU review as the Doak burns. I'd feel bad if I didn't wait for Red. For that one. I don't know where he's at. I'm convinced the ghost of Florida State got him. Something. Maybe some more snow fell in his car. I don't really know. I don't have an answer for that. Yeah, oh man. I guess we'll go through and do Florida State. Boy, yeah. What an ugly mess Florida State was this year. Looking at their schedule real fast, I'll show you guys what that looks like. And yeah, they finished 5-7. Now here's the thing with Florida State. Yes, they were bad. Yes, they finished the year uglier than they ever have. But here's the thing. 2 things. 1, their season was better than last year's. It's hard to do worse than 2-10, and Florida State at least did better than the year previous. But they beat Alabama too. That win over Alabama, which completely shifted the narrative around Florida State. In my opinion, it's a D tier, but we'll let Red recap some of that in a minute. First of all, how you doing? What happened? You good?
Oh, had to go into dad mode real quick. My son has been a little under the weather the last couple of days, and he threw up in his bed, so I had to go and change the sheets, clean that up, get the washer going. Morgan got him in the bath. So
it's fitting as soon as we talk about Florida State, that happens.
Well, it happened as soon as we started about Clemson, actually, which, by the way,
yeah, that's true. You think that's F tier as well?
I mean, come the fuck on. You look at everything everything that they were going to have that year, and then they ended up having it actually, like, it's just good Lord.
Oh, you stink!
Colorado, I also agree with. I see you already did them.
We ranked that B tier.
Colorado?
No, Duke. The Blue Devils. B
For
tier.
what it would have been, for what they actually and what they ended up doing, yeah, absolutely. B is totally fair. But Florida State.
I said D tier because yes, they were still terrible. They got beat by Florida, but they did beat Alabama. So that makes it better than F tier because it shifted some of the perspective around Tommy Castellanos. At least he did what he said he was going to do.
I mean,
to me, it's a D tier season for Florida State.
I want to say F just because they made me had to do another season of As the Doak Burns, but I guess I'll agree with you. It's D tier.
All right. And now for their brother. You talk about a big old log in the toilet. This is another one right next to it. The Florida Gators. And to be honest, this might be worse. This might be another F. Because to me, Florida fans had way higher hopes and expectations than Florida State fans going into this year because they finished last year or 2024 well better than they did. DJ Lagway was coming back for another year. They had a lot of key pieces returning, especially on the offensive line. There were a lot of hopes and dreams that Florida could wound up being something this year, even with the absolutely brutal schedule that they had. And boy, did they come through with one of the worst collapses we've seen. And the collapse started early, losing in week 2 to South Florida. From that point onward, everything just fell apart. You get beat by LSU, Miami, Georgia, Kentucky. You got blown out by Kentucky. I totally forgot they got that win, by the way. That's on me.
Oh, fuck.
And also, you let Tennessee drain the swamp for the first time since 2003. So many ugly streaks in this game, and Florida finished the year 4-8. Arguably the worst Florida team since the one-win team from the 70s, 1979. So in my opinion, Florida is an F because they, from most fans' perspectives, this was an F-tier season worthy of getting Billy Napier fired.
I mean, what else can you say? This was a god-awful season for the Gators. Like, I agree. F tier doesn't even start to tell you how, like, absolute dog shit this team is. Like, when you're sharing bottom of the barrel in a lot of fan opinions with Arkansas,
Go to the church and ask God to forgive you.
I don't even think a priest could save you from that. You need exorcism to get rid of these demons that the Gators are having right now. It is just 100% bad. Let me spell you for you. B-double-A-double-D. Fucking bad.
All right, that's it. Dishonor. Dishonor on your whole family. Make a note of this. Dishonor on you. Dishonor on your cow.
Get the fuck out of here with that shit.
Somebody said put them in G tier. No, that might belong to this team right here. Georgia Tech, since they are the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. No, they aren't as bad as Florida. Nowhere near.
No.
To me, I'd actually say it was a pretty good year for the Jackets. Finished the year 9-4. Now, here's the problem I have with Georgia Tech. Yes, they finished out, they started the year with wins over Colorado, Clemson. But if you go through and look at their schedule, they only had one convincing win the entire way through, and that was Syracuse. Every other win that they got was an absolute gauntlet, just a drag all the way through. Beat Clemson by a game-winning field goal. Beat Colorado because they turned the ball over 4 times. Beat Wake Forest in overtime because they went for 2 and failed. Beat Boston College through Haynes King basically putting his life out there on the line. Haynes King was no doubt a significant pickup for Georgia Tech, and they showed that. The dude was an absolute unit the entire way through. You take away him from this team, and you're looking at probably a 4-win Georgia Tech team right now. So no doubt, by far, this team was well more improved than years before. But then you go back, you look at losses against NC State, Pitt, the BYU loss. The Georgia Tech defense was an absolute disaster, and they showed that, getting up. The run defense was absolutely atrocious. I mean, like running teams average over 200 yards on this Georgia Tech defense. So, but all that to say, this year was well better than anything Jeff Collins produced. It was Brett Key's best year. I'm going to give Georgia Tech a B tier. Red, do you think that would be a fair stance for the Jackets?
I mean, yeah, you look at the overall body of work. Sure, they lost a couple of bad games, but look at what they did against Georgia in the season finale. And, that game, they held the Bulldogs to only 16 points. That's impressive. That was a stunning turnaround for that defense. 100%, no doubt about it. But, man, they were only like 1 or 2 pieces away from winning the ACC, potentially making the playoff. That team was just like so close to being the story of the season in the ACC, and they fucking blew it. It was just unbelievable. B, but I'll give them credit. That was a high B tier season for them. A lot to love, but so many missed opportunities.
Right. No doubt about it. All right. Next up, everyone's favorite, Muska, Mickey Mouse. Yes, the Georgia Bulldogs. But no need to pull up their schedule. Thankfully, I do know it by memory.
Damn, you really are a hater.
Oh yeah. No. I very much am.
There is only 3 things that fuel Squidtard Sports: volunteerism,
All right, you know what?
milkshakes, and the hatred that runs through his veins. That is the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah. Well, Georgia, all things considered, another great year for the Bulldogs. Pretty much every Georgia fan on here can at least agree with that. Even through the struggle wins that they had, they beat Tennessee in overtime on the road at Neyland Stadium. Max Gilbert, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, no need to remind me of Guangdong Gilbert. Their only loss in the regular season was against Alabama, and they got revenge on them in the SEC championship. So all things considered, yes, they lost to Bama in the regular season. Yes, they had some really ugly wins like Florida and Auburn, but they beat Ole Miss in the regular season, beat Texas, blew them out, won the SEC again for now the second year in a row. So Georgia was SEC champions again. And while they did lose in the Sugar Bowl, lost again in the 12-team playoffs they get the first round bye again, and then they lose again. A very similar season to what was last year. So hard for me to give them an S because they weren't any better off than where they were the season previous. But I'd say this was an A-tier season from fan perspective of Georgia.
Yeah, I think
that's where I'd stand.
I mean, how else would you grade this team? I mean, obviously the fans are their own worst critics when it comes to talking about their own team. It's an A tier for Georgia. You won the SEC championship for the second year in a row. Yeah, almost ran the table, just ran into the brick wall known as the Tide in the regular season. But then you got the win back in the SEC title game, only to run into a brick wall called Bourbon Street again for the second year in a row. So if it was a blowout loss or an embarrassing loss in the quarterfinals, I would say that it would be a B tier. That's the only thing that could have knocked it down for me. But all around, you took home hardware. You only lost once in the regular season. You even got the win back against Bama. Anybody that thinks that this is a failure of a year because you barely lost to Ole Miss after y'all went blow for blow twice this year, because that first game was honestly a toss-up until the fourth quarter when Ole Miss ran out of gas. And then this second game, it was just the opposite. Shit ran out of gas for Georgia at the end. So A tier, I would rank them above Arizona in my opinion, because they obviously had a really good season.
It doesn't necessarily matter. They're all A tier, all the same. But
yeah, but there's a difference between a team that's A tier because of the improvement of where they came from and a team that's A tier because they're consistently that damn good. And as much as you hate it, Georgia is always consistently that damn good.
Yeah, I can't argue with that, unfortunately. All right, Houston. All right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know Red's got a joke whipped up for this one, but before he gets to that, let's go over them real fast. So in terms of teams transitioning recently from the G5 to Power 4 status, nobody's got it better than Houston, or at least has had it better than Houston. They finished the year 10-3, won 10 wins as a power conference team, beat Colorado, Oregon State in overtime. But they also beat Arizona State, beat Baylor and UCF. Well, they did lose a couple of games against Texas Tech, West Virginia, TCU. The West Virginia loss was really the only ugly loss on that schedule. Everything else was pretty good. And I think you can balance that out with the wins that they had. Now, Red, I'll let you say your thing before, because I know what you're getting ready to set up here, and I'll go ahead and let you say it.
Houston, you are the worst A-tier team I have ever fucking seen or heard of. But I have heard of you. A-tier.
Yep. And then beating LSU at the end with the Texas Bowl win. I'd say, yeah, Houston, A-tier season for.
I genuinely thought those fuckers would have been lucky to go 500, but they made me make a meme out of them in a good way, and I am very satisfied with. I mean, if you're a Houston fan, you got to be over the moon with getting double-digit wins in a power conference for the first time. Like everyone's like, you've heard of this though. Yeah, no, now I've heard of you. I have heard from you, Houston, and I've heard that y'all got 10 wins, 10 really shitty wins, but still 10 wins. Congrats.
Oh, yeah, congratulations. All right, next up.
Continue until morale improves.
That's also very true. Next up, the Fighting Illini of Illinois finished the season 9-4. So, well, they didn't win the ReliaQuest Bowl like they did last year. It was a lesser year overall. They were around where they were in years previous. They lost. I mean, they lost to Indiana in blowout fashion, 63-10. That was one of the ugliest losses a Power 4 team took this year. But granted, a lot of teams got that type of beating from them as well. But you lost to Ohio State, lost to Washington, all pretty good teams right there. And on top of that, I mean, you beat some pretty good teams. The USC one was really good. That was a ranked win for them. The blowout win at Duke, that was a good one right there. To me, the thing that makes this season sort of spoils this season for the Fighting Illini was the 17-point loss to Wisconsin. That's the one that hurts. And I know a lot of things went wrong on that game. They had a lot of issues there. It was at the end of the year, but Wisconsin was a bad team this year. And you were that much away from a 10-win season. You did beat Tennessee in the Music City Bowl, so I got to give you props for those stand, obviously. So to me, I think this is teetering on C tier, maybe B. Red, where do you stand on this?
I would say B tier. If it was another 10-win season, it would most assuredly have been B tier. Low B, B minus. They beat the teams they were supposed to beat. They lost the teams that they were expected to lose to. The only real loss that was kind of like shocking was the blowout loss against Indiana. But I mean, after when we saw what the fuck happened with them, it hurts a little bit less. So yeah, B tier for Illinois. I think that's fair. They are consistently being consistent, and that's the best news the Illini Nation could hear right now. Hey, we're consistent? Great. What are we consistent with? 9 or 10 wins a season? Fuck, I'm happy with that. Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, B for Bert. I got a soft spot for Illinois fans. They treated us really, really well when we were at the Music City Bowl.
Yeah,
shout out to Illinois.
Yeah. No, and that win against Tennessee was just epic. Like, you can't give them C after that. Come on.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, this one's about as obvious as it could ever be. Obviously, F tier. F tier.
Like, good night, Indiana. Like, awful. What the fuck were you thinking? Like, full on bullshit.
Go to the church and ask God to forgive you.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I just Googled him.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
Yeah, S tier. Come on. What the fuck are we talking about?
Come on. Yeah. There's nothing else to really say about Indiana. This was their best season in football history by a significant margin. They won. They went 16-0, first 16-0 team since the 1800s. Yale. So
Yep.
Congratulations, obviously, to them. Just a phenomenal year. Fernando Mendoza wins the Heisman. They win the Big Ten for the first time outright. I mean, pretty much everything that you could have ever wanted out of this team that they did. They won the Rose Bowl for the first time. And obviously they won the national championship. So,
and here's what
literal Cinderella year for the Hoosiers.
Yeah, and it's the craziest results of a football season like you could ever imagine. It's not even like you can't even say it's Cinderella because they were never really. Everyone thought they were an underdog, but they were never an underdog to begin with. They were a walking loaded fucking tank this year, laying waste to everyone in sight. They had their struggles against teams like Penn State and Iowa, which, I mean, if you're looking at any national championship season, there's teams that are going to hit a couple of potholes like that. But then that playoff run they had, winning the Big Ten championship for the first time since World War II, and then the way they won, not only winning the Rose Bowl and the Peach Bowl, but making me pull out All Quiet on the Western Front because of the brutality they showed in those two games. I mean, this was just, without a doubt, they are making a movie from this season for Indiana. There is going to be a Hoosiers movie for football. It'll come out in 5 years, and the actors will be nothing like the real people, and it's going to be really cheap and poppy because they haven't made a good football movie since Friday Night Lights. But guess what, motherfucker? It's coming. You prepare the box offices.
Ren Gav with the 5 says, still hilarious that if you do Google Kirk Cignetti, it says, yep, he won.
That's awesome.
He did
though,
win.
man.
Google him. Yeah, he did win.
They should do that every
Congratulations
Saturday.
to
They win a game
Indiana.
from now until the end of time.
Undebatably an S-tier season for the Hoosiers. All right, next up, Iowa State. So
And back to
interesting.
average.
Yeah. This is about as average as it can get right here. Iowa State. Started us with of course, the week 0 game. They won that to get us started with the 2020-25 college football season. But, they finished the year 8-4. Had a couple of pretty good wins. Beat Iowa again in the Cy-Hawk series. So that's always worth noting when it comes to Iowa State. On top of that, they beat Oklahoma State at the end of the year, Arizona, TCU, Kansas. Had a couple of marquee wins where they stand, but they also, they had some pretty head-scratching losses, specifically the one to Colorado, and that was one of the worst Colorado teams that we've seen, and they lost to them. On top of that, they got beat by Arizona State in a situation where they very well could have won that game, and same for Cincinnati. So it was sort of an up-and-down type of roller coaster year for Iowa State. Plus, you got to take into account the fact that they lost their head coach. They lost a significant majority of their players, enough to where they didn't even bother to try and attempt to make a bowl game. I'd say Iowa State is around as perfectly average as you can get. I'm giving them C tier. Red, do you agree with that?
I completely agree with that. And that's not just because of the fact that they were perfectly average this year. It's that they had so much more potential to be so much more than that. And the injury bug, that's the big thing that really fucked them over this year.
Mm-hmm.
And what they weren't average because the players were average. The players they had were great. They just kept getting injured. And you can't really shit on Iowa State for catching the injury bug. It could happen to anybody, quite frankly. So perfectly average, still better than anything else Iowa State's had on average in their history, because normally they were like Indiana, bottom feeders, just licking the barnacles off everybody's boots. But now it's, hey, you know what? A little bit of a step back, but we expect better next year, except you lost your head coach, so this might be a return to the norm.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Good luck budgeting that athletic department, by the way. Millions of dollars in the red. Fuck.
Yeah. Tough luck to you on that regard. All right, next up, let's talk about Iowa State. Let's talk about their brother, the Hawkeyes, or little brother more specifically. Finished 9-4. Another average, sort of above average year for the Hawkeyes, sort of right where they always were. Could have swore that this would have been the year that Kirk Ferentz. Kirk Ferentz retired, and he never got around to it. He's coming back for what seems to be yet another season, and typical average year for the Hawkeyes here. Same thing as always. Win against the competition you're put up against, except for the really high competition you're up against. Now, it's worth noting, Gronowski was a significant pickup for the Hawkeyes, because they had a somewhat existing offense this year, and that went a long way for them down the stretch. They lost to Iowa State, again, worth noting that in regards to how that went out. They gave Indiana a hell of a fight, which is worth noting. They still lost that game, though. But they did. They beat Penn State, blew out Minnesota, beat Nebraska at the end of the year, and then won the ReliaQuest Bowl at the end of the season against Vandy and Diego Pavia. So a lot of ups and downs for the Hawkeyes. But we gave Iowa State a C. I think we've got to give the Hawkeyes around the same stature.
This one is a little bit less than Iowa State, actually. I'm going to give them a D, and the reason why is because they had a great quarterback in Mark Gronowski come in from FCS via the portal, and he had 10,000 yards passing coming into the season, played amazing ball in FCS, and what happens? You don't even come close to using his full potential. I get it. You won the bowl game. You did some good shit there, but it's the same old bullshit with Iowa. You're not improving. You're getting fresh players, and you're still not getting any better. What does that mean? It means that it's not the players. It's the system. The system is rotten. Kirk Ferentz needs to go. He needs to be gone. They need fresh eyes and minds in that program. Horribly bad. You absolutely have to get somebody in there that's going to be able to do something with this team. Great defense, poor excuse of a fucking offense. I'm firm at D. This team is fucking depressing to me.
To our chat, where do you guys stand? Is this a C tier season for the Hawkeyes or D? Some of you are probably going to say F. I was kind of, because to be honest, I was kind of lingering towards B for a minute there because, I mean, well, they did like lose quite a few of their games. I mean, it was against higher quality competition, but yeah, it was their typical average season for the Hawkeyes.
I'm getting some flack in the chat. I'm seeing a lot of C's and B's. No one's agreeing with me. All right. You know what? Fair enough. Y'all don't have to agree with me. That's fine. It's just my opinion. I'm harsh on Iowa because you get a team with that great of a defense with an offense that's fucking decent and actually able to score consistently. It would have been them against Indiana for the Big Ten championship. I guarantee it. Like it would have happened, but or it would have been them against Ohio State. Like I don't fucking know. That defense is great. So like, there's so much wasted potential on that team.
Right.
So much.
All right, next
fair enough, chat. We hear you.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna put them at C tier and stick with them for that, just right below Iowa State. All right, next up, probably worse off than neither of those two teams, Kansas State. You know, they had a lot of potential at the start of the season, but a lot of the same coaching issues came back to bite them. They lost to Iowa State due to Chris Kleeman's terrible fourth down clock management. And it was an issue that came back to bite them in the cheeks multiple times throughout the season. Specifically, throughout those first 4 weeks, that was some ugly Kansas State football. They barely beat North Dakota, almost gave an FCS team their first win. And boy, that would have been bad. But then after that, you lose to an Army team that the week before got beat down on the big stage by Tarleton State, which was an FCS team. So that was really bad. Then you lose to Arizona. You get things back together against UCF, but then sort of an up and down stretch throughout the rest of the way. Lose to Baylor by 1 point. Lose to Texas Tech. I mean, you beat Oklahoma State and Kansas, but then you get beat down by Utah. Scored 47 points even, but your defense let up 51. So an up and down stretch for Kansas State, and similar to Iowa State, they were just so gassed out by the end of the year that they didn't even bother to show up for a bowl game. They just straight up opted out entirely as a team. So to me, I mean, their final record was 6-6. Not a good year for Kansas State considering where they started. I mean, they sort of rebounded. I'm lingering towards like the C- level, anywhere from C to D. Red, what do you think?
No, I'm saying F. They were projected to be they were projected to be conference champions, and it absolutely imploded. The amount of potential that they had. If I'm going to say that Iowa should be D tier because of wasted potential, Kansas State absolutely is F tier. You look at the pieces they had and everything that they were going to be able to accomplish. All the analysts and critics said up and down, Kansas State is the team to beat for the Big 12 crown. They were nowhere near it by the end of the season. And it wasn't because of injuries. It wasn't because of anything close to that. It was because they just didn't fucking execute. They didn't play to potential. It was a fucking waste. And what's worse, they caught the Irish curse because they lost in Ireland to Georgia Tech. So it was Iowa State. It was Iowa State. They lost Farmageddon in Ireland to Iowa State.
Thinking of FSU.
I was thinking of last year. Either way, it's an F. Not like Arkansas F, but like, and I know 6-6. Like, what do you mean it's an F? It's 6-6. Boy,
again,
you were supposed to win it all. You were supposed to win the conference, and you do that. You fucking do that.
Boo! You stink!
Get the fuck out of here.
All right. Well, most of the chat said D tier. We're gonna stick with that and give them low D tier because you are absolutely right about that. Kansas State fans were heavily disappointed. Enough to where eventually they forced Chris Kleeman to get out. So.
Yeah,
so you got to put this all in perspective, okay? So Kansas State, one of the worst
teams we've seen. I'm trying, but this fucking team is just like.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you. But they were. I mean, this was one of the worst Kansas State teams that we saw in a very, very long time. Imagine how absolutely goofy you got to feel if you're a fan of a team that even in that team's worst year, still can't beat them. Well, unfortunately, that was the result that the Jayhawks found themselves in, which is up our next team here. So Kansas, bad year, 5-7. Had a lot of hope for this team, and they fell flat really, really quick. Lost to Missouri in week 3, and then from that point onward, things didn't go well. I mean, they blew out West Virginia, and then you're thinking, okay, they're 3-1. They've got a favorable Big 12 stretch throughout the rest of the way. They could win a lot of these games, but then everything just kept falling apart down the stretch. They lose to Cincinnati, Texas Tech. The blowout loss to Kansas State at home was what really, really killed off things, because then they only won one out of their last 4. Lose to Arizona, Iowa State, Utah. They were all winnable games for the Jayhawks, and they just couldn't get over the hump. They lost many, many close games. I'm D tier on Kansas, right below Kansas State.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be D tier. Like I would give them an F if it wasn't for the fact that they were coming in with a brand new offensive coordinator, so a brand new offensive scheme for the 4th fucking year in a row. So like they were kind of screwed. And it was like, except for the quarterback, everybody else on that roster was brand new. So you could argue that there was blown potential, but I don't even know what the hell the potential was, to be honest with you. I think that the Jayhawks are not going to go back to like 2-10, 1-11 every single year consistent status, but like something's got to change there in Jayhawk land, and fast.
Very fast, because another one of those years by Lance Leopold, and they just might pull the plug, but we'll keep an eye on that. All right, next up, the Wildcats of Kentucky. And here's the thing with Kentucky, okay? Most people look at them and they're like, obviously an automatic D or an F. But again, fan expectation. And there are quite a few Kentucky fans that, seeing what their roster brought in this year, were not convinced that this team was going to be doing much of anything. And well, they stuck with it. I'll tell you that much. You know, they beat Toledo at the start of the year, but then from that point onward, they lose a close game to Ole Miss, lost a really close game to Texas by a game-winning field goal, put up a lot of points against Tennessee, still couldn't win that one, lose to South Carolina and Georgia, and then at the end of the year, they got blown out by Vandy and Louisville. But they, along with that, I mean, they beat Auburn, they beat Florida convincingly, and probably the biggest one of all, they got Mark Stoops fired. Finally, they've been waiting a very long time for that to happen, and finally, Kentucky's administration went through with this. So you got to take what the good with the bad here, but just the season overall, it's like a C- to D+ type of season for me. Red, where do you stand?
It's an F for me, man. I got no mercy for Kentucky here. Yeah, it's an F.
Wow.
It's a fucking again, like. Yeah, you fired Mark Stoops. Great job. You know, congratulations. You were about 3 years late for that party, motherfuckers. They at least last year they got like a random fucking one-off against Ole Miss that like kind of shocked everybody. And now I think we can all say it was definitely a D tier season. But what did we see this year that was better than last year for the Wildcats? Genuinely. Did we see anything positive?
Well, they had a better record.
Against
they went 4-8 the year before. So
okay.
they did have that going for them, and one more SEC win, because they only had the one SEC win over Ole Miss in 24. So technically they did do better this year, but it wasn't by much. That's why I was teetering on anywhere from C to D with them.
All right, fine. I'll settle with D. Fair points.
And most of the chat agrees. We're going to give Kentucky a D tier.
Yeah, I mean, I just have no.
Most people agree with that.
I mean, I just got no fucking love for the Wildcats, man. Like, they don't try. They don't do anything that tells me they ever give a fuck, and they really don't. Going back to the days of Bear Bryant walking away from Lexington, like, it's a program that even in NIL where they don't know how to fucking football, and even they barely know how to basketball these days too, because they're getting poached left and right for NIL. So it's a school in free fall, genuinely. Fuck Cutter Bully.
Carter Bolden, a playoff quarterback, sir. Well, all right, next up, their big brother in Louisville, the Cardinals. And, well, to say the least, their season was a whole lot better. In terms of fan perception, I think they got the win here. Satisfied a majority of the fan base because they finished 9-4, had a couple of pretty good wins. Obviously, that win over Miami was the one people look at as the most impressive on their schedule. That was a huge win for them. They went against Virginia Tech, Boston College, blew out Kentucky 41-0, did what Pittsburgh couldn't and beat Toledo in a bowl game. But on top of that, I mean, they had some kind of ugly, disturbing losses. More specifically, those losses to Cal and Clemson, which are absolutely winnable games. They lost to Cal in overtime in a really bad way at home. And then the same thing happened against Clemson. And a lot of that was due to the fact that they couldn't kick a field goal. But their offense at several points in the year just became so incredibly potato because they were so scared of letting Miller Moss throw the football. And again, he was turnover prone. We all know that. But you got to you had to have let him sling the football, and they just didn't. And well, it wound up with them having what I would say is still a above average year for Louisville, all things considered. I think they're still pretty happy with Jeff Brom. I would give this year anywhere from a C+ to a B-. Red, where do you stand?
I'm solidly at B. I mean, they did a lot of really good things this year. Yeah, their run for the ACC kind of fell apart at the last minute, and they had a couple of rough losses, but you still finished with a blowout loss over your little bitch in Kentucky. And, the fact that you were in the race for that long with the pieces you had tells me that they really had a lot of shit going for them this year. Not to mention, they gave us the greatness of the hospital pizza game against Clemson. So that was a lot of fun. So I'm a little biased, but give me a B tier for the Louisville. That's about where I'm standing.
Seems like a fair place to put them. All right. Talk about this turd state here. LSU. Yeah. Good old LSU.
Here again, talking about the same thing.
They did not have it their way, I'll tell you that much. And they started out really strong. Win 4 games in a row, beat Clemson on the road. Turns out that Clemson team wasn't worth a shit, and neither were you. Lose to Ole Miss on the road by 5. Lose to Vandy, then A&M, Alabama, Oklahoma. I mean, they finished the year, 7-6. Lost to Houston in the Texas Bowl, too. Compared to fan perception, this was a disgustingly bad year for LSU because this was, they started the year preseason top 10, had a lot of hype going for him. Garrett Nussmeier was a preseason Heisman favorite, and look what happened. Not only did he wound up being such a massive bust that they benched him for Michael Van Buren, of all people, but, I mean, you go through them, and their defense was another disaster. All the same issues that BK had with coaching in the years before. It was the same thing here again. But here's the thing. Yes, it was an absolutely bad year for LSU, but I think a lot of fans kind of thought that LSU might have just jumped off a cliff this year. So to me, I'm at D- with LSU. I don't think they're exactly at F, but Red, what do you think?
It's an F, man. We cannot be nice to this team, man. It is a fucking F. Arctic Phoenix said it right in chat. Super F, motherfucker.
Super F.
Super F. You cannot get any, this team was, again, Heisman candidate at quarterback, supposedly supposed to be in the mix for the playoffs, and they got whooped so badly that they had to pay Brian Kelly nearly $60 million to not coach.
Yeah, I totally forgot.
Anymore.
I'll be honest with you. I've definitely forgot about that part. That convinced me. All right.
And fired their athletic director as well in the process. It got so messy. The governor of Louisiana got involved. It was a complete and utter failure. And that doesn't even fully describe it. Yeah, if there is no other, if they don't deserve an F, man, that nobody does.
You're not wrong about that. That convinced me. I just needed to hear that specific part about about how the firing went down, and that's what convinced me. So yeah, LSU super F right there next to Florida,
And
only
then
just
they
a
go
little bit
and
ahead
pay-
because they beat them.
And the fucked up part about it was the governor comes out on the podium and he's like, we're done doing these silly contracts where we're going to give all this guaranteed money out. You know what
And
they
then
do?
what happened? Yeah,
They hire Lane Kiffin for $91 million, and 80% of it's guaranteed if he gets fired. So an 80%
Different
buyout
league.
of the remaining amount.
That's LSU for you.
Yeah.
Hey, but did you know they won a national championship in 2019? So therefore, it doesn't matter.
Whoa, they did? Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
That's one of the excuses I legitimately hear from LSU fans. Where's your 2019 national championship? Where's your Joe Burrow type of year? Yeah, that's doing a lot of wonders for you right now. Where's Coach O right now? I'd really love to know.
Yeah, he's probably out catcalling some pregnant woman in a gas station again or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, well, diving away from that, let's talk about literally the most predictable team in college football, the Maryland Turtles. Because boy, did their season go exactly as we predicted. It's not even a running gag on this channel. It's literally just facts at this point. Maryland starts out strong. They win 4 games. Then as soon as fan perception gets on them and they move past September into October, death. Because that's literally what they do. Oh, guys, Maryland's 4-0. Maryland is 4-0. Hey, baby, Maryland is 4-0 team. And then October comes and literally the wheels fall off, and that's exactly what happened. Lost 8 games in a row. Mike Locksley still not fired after everything. But here's the thing. I mean, as Maryland did not have a lot of talent going into this year. So most fans thought that they weren't going to be much any good. They were hoping for bowl game or maybe something a little bit more. They weren't. Their expectations weren't near anything here in the F tiers. So I'm going to give them a D. Where do you stand on that?
I would give them an F if they had any expectations. I'm kind of with you there.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same old with the Terps. I find it hilarious that the athletic department's like, you know what? It's our fault. It's not Coach Locksley's fault that we suck. It's not the head coach of the football team's fault that they're bad. We're not investing enough in the program. We're not getting the best players to come here because we're not investing enough money. Honestly, I give Mike Locksley a lot of credit for brainwashing the athletic director into thinking he's the fucking problem.
Ain't that something? Good enough for D tier. All right, next up. The Miami Hurricanes. All right, well, it goes without saying, this was a great year for Miami, all things considered. 13-3 final record. Beat Notre Dame at the start of the year. Had a couple of other marquee wins. They blast through most of their ACC competition except for 2 teams, Louisville and SMU. Unfortunately, due to ACC tiebreakers, it was enough to ensure that they would not be winning their first ACC title this year. So from that point alone, that would be enough to give them another C-tier season. But then the playoff run happened. Beat Texas A&M in College Station. Beat Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. Beat Ole Miss in the Fiesta Bowl. And show up in the national championship. And not only that, but gave Indiana a hell of a fight all the way until the end with Carson Beck as their starting quarterback. A lot of people thought Miami was going to probably do worse this year because of that. And not only did they do better, they did leagues and bounds better because of that playoff run that they had. So in my opinion, I got to give Miami S tier. I mean, they had an S tier level season because of that playoff run. That's where I stand on it. Red, what do you think?
I could be a spiteful Ohio State fan and say, fuck you, Miami, for ending our season. We're giving you the F tier because fuck you and your cocaine-induced Michael Irving belt-strapping motherfucking asses. But you know what? That run they made in the playoffs took them for what honestly should have been a B-tier season into an S-tier season. This was a great football team. They overcame a lot of adversity. They had to go through a lot of bullshit. And they came out on the other side nearly national champs, not quite enough to get past Kurt Signetti's death machine that was the Indiana Hoosiers. But I mean, compared to what they had the last 20 some odd years, when the heartache goes away and the sting wears off, it's a hell of a season for the Hurricanes. I won't deny it. I'm not going to be spiteful. Congrats, Miami. You earned it. Stay the fuck away from us.
Yep.
And you're getting it.
Well, hey,
yeah,
you should be happy at their S. That means you got belt to cheeks by the only 2 S tier teams on here so far.
Listen, motherfucker, I didn't need that reminder, okay?
I'm
I'm about to go full scorched earth on Miami this offseason. They're one of the teams firmly they're going to get targeted by my ass in story time because of the 2 decades of futility. It'll have a happy ending, almost. I'll give you that.
Yeah. It ends the same way it begins with a Carson Beck interception.
A lot of people get happy endings in Miami. Ask Robert Kraft. What?
So, okay. All right. You were waiting for that one. I can tell. All right. Next up, we got the Spartans, Michigan State. And all things considered, it was another pretty terrible year for Michigan State. Yeah. There's worse seasons. I've seen worse years, but 4-8, not a good year for them. Barely beat Boston College early in the season. That's your non-con win on top of Western Michigan, then Youngstown State. Then after that, just everything fell apart. 8 straight losses to your conference opponents. Your lone win was against past September Maryland, so that doesn't really count all that much. But you get beat down by most of your competition. You at least stayed competitive through it, but like not really. I mean, even though you did stay competitive, like it didn't matter in the end. You weren't able to close down games, and it eventually ended with the with the ending of Jonathan Smith from the looks of it. So yeah, no, horrendous year overall for Michigan State. They had hopes and expectations going into this year, and they just fell flat. So to me, another D-, maybe F tier. Red, it's up to you on that. Where do you stand?
Yeah, look, I'm not even gonna fucking try to make this look good because you could say, well, they did beat the MAC champions, Western Michigan Broncos. I mean, you got that.
Woo! Yeah, yeah. That's not really saying much of anything. Go ahead.
But then you look the week after that, and they went to overtime with Boston, double overtime with Boston College. Sure, you won, but you went to double overtime with a radioactive butt chin. I'm sorry.
Go to the church and ask God to forgive you.
In the incinerator, because it's an F.
All right, F tier for Michigan State, probably fitting. All right, now we got to get to their bitter rivals on Red's favorite team, the Michigan Wolverines. All right, so Michigan. Boy, here's the question with Michigan, and we're going to get into that in just a second. But first off, let's just talk about their season overall. 9-4, standard year for Michigan. Lost to Oklahoma early in the season, but then had a couple of marquee wins. Beat Nebraska in a close one. Beat their rivals in Michigan State. But on top of that, they also. I mean, they barely got past terrible Big Ten teams like Purdue and Northwestern. And then they got beat down the big stage by Ohio State, got beat down by Texas. So, I mean, in terms of Michigan's year, they had a season where they beat who they were supposed to and lost to who they were supposed to, in my opinion. They didn't beat anybody that most people thought that they were going to lose to. So I would say it's especially with the loss to Ohio State, sort of your average year, maybe below average for Michigan. And then here's the question with Michigan. Do we include the Sharon Moore theatrics?
Yes, we have to.
With this.
We have
then in that case,
to.
I'm going D tier with Michigan. That's where I stand with them right here. I think it was an average year mixed in with more theatrics against the NCAA. Got involved in more significant drama. So in my opinion, Michigan's a D tier.
Their head coach went to jail for things I'm not going to repeat because I'd like for the stream to stay monetized. they lost to their rivals for the first time in almost 2,000 days. Fuck you, by the way. Sure, you won 8 games. They were radioactive, it felt like, from the start. Like, the whole thing inside that Michigan program has been rotten to the core for a good minute there. This is definitely my bias playing on me. I'm saying F tier, mainly because of the way it ended. If they had won the Citrus Bowl, I'd give them a D tier for at least coming out of the other side clean, but it was over. They had to go to Biff Poggi. And as much as I think he's an adorable man, he is genuinely, like, there was no way they was going to get going on that one. I'm stuck at F tier, man. You're not going to convince me to move them up. So we need to go to the chat. What does chat think?
Yeah. Well, first off, super chats to go through here. Go Cards with the $1 super chat. Thank you very much, good sir.
Thank you.
With the 5, Sean Shanley, anime UWL per. What a name. All right. Says, your thoughts of the Steelers sharing the misery with your Buckeyes by sending Arthur Smith your way? Oh, yeah. What are your thoughts on that, Red? Yeah. Oh, boy.
Fuck the Steelers.
Damn.
And Arthur Smith.
Yeah, your problem now. Have a good time.
I'm giving it a chance because of what happened with Matt Patricia, but fuck, man.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Emmanuel Favor Gui 1536 with the 10 says, can you do a top G5? So you want us to do a tier list for the G5 too? What do you think? Should we do that next week?
Yeah, fuck yeah, let's do that. This is fun. This has been fun. Everybody's been so engaged in this. This has been a great stream, and I can tell you that
this
already.
has been a great stream. Yeah. All right.
I mean,
yeah, we'll do that next week.
We'll do group of 5 next week. We won't leave the little guys out.
Yeah. We'll rank the
That means
G5
we can absolutely teabag on some teams like what Manning did to Sam Houston State in week 2.
Well, you don't think they've suffered long enough?
They haven't.
They really have. Yeah, I guess not. All right.
Yeah.
Yes, we knew it was going to be a long stream when we rolled into this.
Yeah.
All right, next up, Minnesota, the Golden Gophers of Minnesota. Boy, you want to talk about? Yeah, you know what? That's probably for the best. Page not found. We all kind of yeah. In terms of Minnesota seasons, this was as Minnesota football as you can possibly get. This is one thing most predictable with them. It's like Maryland falling off a cliff after September. Minnesota is a team that will always go 7-5 in the regular season, and they did exactly that. Had a couple of good wins. The Rutgers, Purdue, Nebraska, Michigan State, Wisconsin, they beat the teams that they were supposed to, but then when they battled against competition on a higher grade than them, they lost. And they could have finished 8-4. They had a very favorable schedule on their side, and Minnesota fans knew that, and they still couldn't do better than 7-5. Lost to Northwestern, and that was the thing that gave it away. And then they lost in New Mexico, they beat New Mexico in overtime. They tried to lose to them in the Rate Bowl, but they did beat the Lobos in that overtime game. So to me, this is your standard year for Minnesota. Most fans know it. I'm giving them C tier. Red, where do you stand?
Meh. I mean, sure. What do you want me to say? It's Minnesota doing Minnesota. Like they gave their coach a contract extension because they're average. It's a C tier, man. It's a C tier team. It's a C tier program. They ain't serious.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I mean, they did have Corey Parrish, which did a lot of work for him, but that was it. That was all they had.
Nah.
Ryan Gav with the 5 says Arthur Smith to Ohio State tonight on the Bold and the Buckeyes.
Fuck you. That's not happening. Fake show. Fake news. Fuck off.
Oh, Mickey Mouse show, you say. All right, next up. Ding-a-ling-a-ling, the Cowbell College, Mississippi State. And here's the thing with Mississippi State. We're doing this based entirely on fan perception. CC page not found. Even it doesn't want me to go look at their schedule, and I can't honestly blame them. All right, Mississippi State. There we go. And I can spell, guys. I'm smart. I'm a smart individual. All right.
There are 2 P's in Mississippi.
Yeah, well, in my eye, that's very fitting because they are PP. Yeah, they started off strong, 4-0. That win over Arizona State had a lot of yeah, thank you. But they did. They started out strong. That win over the Sun Devils had a lot of fans believing in the Cowbell College again, even after their overtime loss to Tennessee. They thought, oh, this team can go. So this team can go places. And then the wheels fell off. Lost to A&M, Florida, Texas in overtime. Now, granted, here's the thing about that game. I mean, they just completely came apart. They had that game won, up by multiple scores late in the fourth quarter. You're thinking, oh, yeah, this game's over. And then Arch Manning just came alive and they blew it. They beat Arkansas, which definitely helped, and then they lose to Georgia, Missouri, Ole Miss. The schedule is just nowhere near favorable. And they did, as a consolation prize, show up to a bowl game at 5-7 just to lose to the Demon Deacons as a sacrificial lamb to finish 5-8. So not necessarily the worst year for the Cowbell College. I think in terms of fan expectations, this wasn't further beyond where they're actually standing. So I'm somewhere around the C to D range. Red, what's your thoughts?
D tier, mainly because they did beat Hog City. So, I can't give them an F because of the fact they did beat Arkansas in the SEC Tank Bowl. But, yeah, just an incredibly disappointing season. C tier would be like if they accomplished something. They didn't really accomplish anything.
And before but somebody's going to say, oh, well, they made a bowl game.
Who gives
5-7. They hit at 5-7. That's the point.
You arrived in North Carolina because they needed a warm body for Wake Forest to just absolutely brutalize. And that's kind of what happened.
Blake Shapen got picked off by a D lineman to lose to Florida. Q tier. Oh, my goodness.
We're going full Q tier, huh?
Yeah, I guess so. All right. Next up, after Mississippi State, we put them at D tier. Next up after them, Missouri. The good old MIZZOU with Eli Drinkwitz at the helm.
You spelled it right, chat.
Yeah. Missouri. All right. Well, Missouri season finished 8-5 on the year. Not a bad year, all things considered. They did really well in the portal, specifically with the pickup of Ahmad Hardy, which was, in my opinion, one of the best pickups over the course of the transfer portal during last offseason. They started out really strong, 5-0, had a favorable stretch through that game, and then they lose to Alabama after their bye week in a really close one, beat Auburn in overtime, lost to Vandy in a close one. Same thing with Oklahoma, battled the whole way through. It was sort of proof that. Here's the thing with Missouri. We got to also take into account that they were down their starting quarterback early in the year. Sam Horn goes down really, really early. They're forced to put in backup Bo Pribula. And while he was favorable in the system that they were running, he didn't do anything for them particularly. And more often than not, lost them games and won them. So, yeah. To me, factoring in the injury bug being a factor, this is sort of a B tier, C tier season for Missouri. I think we got to give them C.
Yeah, I mean, I would if Bo didn't get hurt against Vanderbilt and was able to finish the season fully healthy and win a couple more get another game or two, I think we would be able to say, you know what? Despite everything, they had a solid season. This was a lot of missed opportunities and some disappointment here for Mizzou. It's a lot of what ifs. Like, you waste Ahmad Hardy's season with y'all. You waste Bo Pribula's, showing that he had there. Did he play spectacularly? Nah, but he's got a lot of fucking potential, and you could have absolutely turned him into something, and he's gone. So a lot of a team that honestly was halfway through the season, people were thinking Mizzou, dark horse for the playoffs, maybe, and then they just shit themselves.
Yep. Phoenix with the 2. Thank you very much. Says Auburn at D is too generous. Hope y'all are doing well. Yeah, you could thank Baylor for that.
That's the only reason why Auburn is a D is because they beat Baylor and on the road. That's it.
Right. All right. Next up, we got the Cornhuskers of Nebraska. And sort of the same problem with Missouri here. They finished out the season 7-6. Started out pretty strong. Beat Cincinnati in that really close game in week 1. And they looked to be a really strong team. Lost to Michigan in a close game, but then they went on a run. And then Minnesota happened. They lose 24-6. Past that point, things just got ugly. USC, that loss, and especially Well, it wasn't even just the loss against USC, but the loss of Dylan Mahomes. That really stung them because then past that point, they were nowhere near the team that they were supposed to be. But, I mean, they had a good run around the run that they had before. They finished 7-5, a better year. 7-5 for Nebraska is a better year for the Cornhuskers than anything we've seen from them in the past 10 years. And that's really saying a lot about this program and where they stand right now. So Dylan Mahomes, if nothing else, has at least brought them on an upward hill. They're doing well in the portal. I'd say this was a C-tier season for Nebraska. A lot of what ifs, same as Mizzou. But they had they had a better season overall. And I think the fans were quick to recognize that, especially with the loss of Raiola.
Man, I can't. What was the record last year?
7-6.
Yeah. I mean, there was no improvement there. Dylan Mahomes getting fucking hurt like he did just absolutely did not help him either. So there's for that to consider. If one of Raiola getting fucking injured like he did, I'd give them a fucking D tier, but I'm going to show them some sympathy and say C tier because, it's been worse, but man, just feels like you left a lot on the table there. And now Raiola's gone. So what the fuck you going to do now, Rule? Really should have probably thought about going to Penn State now, huh? You're kind of left to clean up the fucking mess.
Wah, wah, wah.
Boo.
All right. After Nebraska, we laid them at C tier. Here comes NC State, the Wolfpack. So this might be a little controversial, but again, we're going off the. Come on, man. Page not foul.
Today on Kansas.
Come on, NC State was good. NC State was good. You don't need to hide them from us, or at least they were okay. They finished the season at 8-5. It was better than last year. This time they didn't go out losing to East Carolina to end their season. In fact, they got revenge on them to start the season. Then from there, they beat what turned out to be a really good Virginia team. Plus, they beat Wake Forest. They beat Georgia Tech in that game. I mean, ran up and down the field on them. They had a pretty good run game, all things considered. But also, you got to take into account the blowout losses to Notre Dame, Miami, the close loss to Virginia Tech. That one really stung because Virginia Tech wound up being really terrible this year. But they beat most of the teams that they were supposed to. Finished out the season with a blowout win over Memphis. All things considered, I think this season was around where NC State fans thought they were going to be, maybe a little bit better. So I would say it's somewhere around a B- to a C+. Where do you stand on that?
Really just okay. There was a couple of things to like about NC State, but they didn't improve. They didn't get worse. I'm going to say C tier.
Reasonable. Yeah. All right. We'll stick with them right there. CJ Bailey was sort of a bright spot for him. If nothing else,
they had
that going for him.
Yeah. I mean, they had a couple of bright spots, but just still like a lot of things that you just kind of scratch your head like, okay. If we just had a couple of different pieces, maybe we would be having a good season. Maybe.
Mm-hmm. The defense was absolutely a problem.
Yeah, they were missing defense badly there. All right, let's get to the clown show because I think everybody's waiting on the circus to start because
boy, this was a circus right here. The Tar Pits of North Carolina. If we're throwing in Sharon Moore, then we're absolutely throwing in all of North Carolina's offseason theatrics with Bill Belichick, his girlfriend.
We have to.
Here's the thing with North Carolina. North Carolina was probably one of the most delusional fan bases in the offseason. A lot of them thought Bill Belichick was taking him to the promised land, winning the ACC, winning 8 games, all of that. And what did he do? Not a daggum thing. Finished the season 4-8. Blowout loss to TCU to start the year, and then all their expectations came crumbling down. Blown out by the worst Clemson team in Dabo Swinney's era. Blown out by UCF, too. Top of that, you lose to Cal, Virginia, Wake Forest, Duke, NC State, blown out by them at the end of the year. You only had a handful of wins, and only 2 of those were against conference opponents, and they were the literal 2 worst conference opponents. So, to me, if we're considering fan expectation, this is an F tier team. This was an F tier season for North Carolina.
It ain't got no gas in it.
I mean,
Well, there you go.
There's nothing else I can say here. It's an F tier, but beyond F tier, super F tier, sextuple F tier. Like what is there to say positive about this season? Literally, the best moment for North Carolina was that first touchdown against TCU in the home opener. And it all went downhill from there. And I think the fan base got absolutely sold a bag of beans thanks to people at ESPN hyping up Bill Belichick all offseason. Like, oh man, North Carolina, they're going to be a great team. Okay, who the fuck did they bring into their program? Nobody's. Bill Belichick going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. One of the greatest coaches of his era. The era has passed, my friend. I expect nothing less than another fucking disaster of a season next year. Maybe the only thing that's going to get better for the Tar Heels is that maybe the real head coach, Jordan Hudson, isn't around as much. Because
if they had announced that they had broken up, I'd probably move up North Carolina to D tier. But
that's not happening. Bill doesn't care. He's trying his. I don't even know how hard he's really trying. Like he's got.
I think he's not all there in the head.
No, he's
again.
He's
I'm just thinking that we don't know that officially. I'm just thinking that in the head.
I mean, he's an old fart, but he's not a dumb old fart.
No, I'm not even saying dumb. I'm just saying I think it might be a little bit of dementia. But again, just throwing that out there.
I don't know.
That's my personal opinion.
He seemed pretty sharp to me in his interview, but just so smitten by this Jezebel he has for a fucking woman.
Well, in the words of Jordan Hudson, we're not talking about this. All right, next up. First off, Shane Lee, Anime UWL Per with the 5 says IMO Vanderbilt should be C or B tier only because they missed the playoffs. Don't worry, we'll get into that momentarily.
Yeah,
all right.
Like my thoughts.
The Northwestern Wildcats. So where do we stand with Northwestern? That's a good question. Finished the year 7-6. Had a couple of good wins, couple of really bad losses. They lost to Tulane at the start of the year. Sort of looked like everything was thrown off, but from that point onward. But then they went on a run, went like 5-2 in their first 7 games, beat UCLA, Penn State. Obviously, that was a good win for them. Beat Purdue 19-0. And then they lose 3 in a row, Nebraska, USC, and Michigan. Beat Minnesota, which was also a pretty good win. Then lose to Illinois, and then won the Sports Bowl against Central Michigan. So all things considered, this is your standard sort of Northwestern season. The fans didn't really have any expectations, and I think overall they went around where most of them thought they would stand. An average year for an average team. The fan base mostly thought that that's where they stood. So I think this was a C tier season for Northwestern.
Yeah, I mean they're average for sure. I think they're the epitome of average in the Big Ten. But hey, for Northwestern, being average is pretty damn good.
Oh, absolutely.
Just saying. So, hey, shout out to Northwestern. Enjoy your new digs next year. Although we are going to miss the Lakefront Stadium y'all had. It was
a good stadium.
We should have put that in college
real quick, do you hear that? I swear, there's a noise I'm hearing somewhere. It sounds like a giant crying baby. Do you know what that might be?
I don't know. I only hear one noise though. Yeah.
In other words,
about Notre Dame.
Yeah, the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. Well, you guys already know their schedule, but we're going to go through it anyway. Finished the season 10-2. Lost their first 2 games against what were eventually playoff teams in Miami and Texas A&M. Won the rest of the way through the season off of the ground game with Jeremiah Love. CJ Carr had himself a pretty good year past those 2 games. In fact, he actually had a pretty good run in those 2 games too. But unfortunately, the defense caved in at the very end. The efforts were not good enough, and they wound up losing those 2 games. But then they go through the rest of the way, beat all the teams that they are supposed to, and most of them in blowout fashion. And here's the problem with that. None of those teams that they beat, with the exception of USC, maybe, were teams worthy of being anywhere talked about in the top 25. And the playoff committee, realizing that they lost to Miami and A&M, which were two bubble teams of their own, they had to kick out Notre Dame in replacement of that, which started the biggest crying session of all time, at least for this year, and then eventually caused them to opt out of the playoffs entirely. So, fan expectation this season overall for Notre Dame, right now, the Notre Dame fans in here would tell you that this was an F-tier season just because they didn't make the playoffs. And they had a lot of hope in that. I think, in all honesty, because of everything that happened, this is probably because they won 10 games. Got to throw that into comparison too. But I think this was a C or D for Notre Dame. What do you think?
I'm obviously a big Notre Dame hater, but I'm not so much of a hater that I'm going to put them at D tier. They still won a lot of games this year. They still had a good season on the record books. But they're crying and bitching session at the end of the season, not to mention that they're going to get special treatment starting next year, as long as they're ranked in the top 12. It's kind of like the old BCS rule for them now. As long as they finish a certain ranking or higher, they'll get a BCS bowl. Well, now they get a fucking playoff spot. Look, I got to put them at C. I would love to put them at F tier or leave them unranked entirely, but we got to put them at C here because the record is still a good record, but man, learn how to take fucking L. Good God.
Yeah, no. And I think that's why we're not putting them anywhere near here, because the fans are not happy with the way the season ended. So we got to lower them down to like a C. No. Anywhere lower than that, we're probably putting them at a D or an F. But it's because, a lot of it is because of how the season went that Notre Dame wasn't included. Because in most other years, that team is probably making the playoffs.
Oh yeah, 100%. And next year, that team would have made the playoffs.
Potentially so. All right, next up, it's your team, Red. Ohio State, the Buckeyes of Ohio State. And I know you know their schedule by heart, but we're going to go ahead and put it on the screen anyway. So Ohio State, all things considered, pretty good year for them. But again, this is fan expectation we're talking about here. And Red, you being an Ohio State fan, you had expectations, as well as any other reasonable Ohio State fan did, of making it to the national championship, winning the national championship, maybe even, getting somewhere among those range. If nothing else, at least winning a playoff game. Well, Ohio State didn't do that. In fact, they did win all of their games in the regular season, beat Texas at the start of the year, who was the number one team at the time, finished 12-0, and then they lose in the Big Ten championship and then lose in the Cotton Bowl. But they finally beat Michigan as well. So some good to take with this season, some bad to take with it, obviously. I think, all things considered, Ohio State's season is somewhere around the range of A or B, and I'll let you be the ultimate decider of that.
A tier. Only because we beat Michigan. Simple enough. A tier because we beat Michigan. We had a great season, one of the best defenses in the country. Yeah, we expected to win the national championship for a second year in a row. But unfortunately, it just didn't work out that way. I'll be nice and say A tier because we finally beat that fucking team up north. But that's where it ends.
This should be D as tier.
Yeah. Whatever, dude. It was a good Ohio State season. Like we didn't win the Big Ten, we didn't win the Natty, we didn't win the fucking postseason game. But hey, you know what? We beat that team up north, and sometimes that's all you need in life is just to beat the shit out of the people you hate the most. Squid, you wouldn't know that feeling.
All right, we're done here. Yeah, tell me when Michigan gets back to national championship status, and we'll see how that goes.
That's never happening again if I have anything to do about it, motherfucker.
All right. Well, anyway, let's go ahead and laugh at this pile of turds here. I mean, calling this team a pile of turds it'd probably be a compliment. Oklahoma State, my Lord Almighty. Where do we even begin with you? All right. So, in terms of fan perception, it was hard to do worse than what Oklahoma State did last year. They did it. They somehow pulled it off. They beat UT Martin at the start of the year 27-7. That was their only win of the entire season. They've then proceeded to lose every other game on their schedule. 69-3 loss to Oregon, lost to Tulsa at home. Then they lose all of their Big 12 games to finish 0-9. It was a sad, sad goodbye for what was a legendary coach in Mike Gundy. Mr. I'm a man, I'm 40. But yeah, they were just nowhere near competitive this year. And the wall of expectations wasn't even that high for Oklahoma State. And they fell so hard off a cliff. So Red, I don't even, we already know what your take on this is. So I'm just going to put them at F tier.
Yeah, I mean, just
All right, that's it. Dishonor on your whole family. Make a note of this. Dishonor on you. Dishonor on your cow.
what else do you want me to say? Like, there's nothing else I can say nicely about it. They just been terrible. F. Get your shit together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hard to deny that. All right, next up, Oklahoma, the Oklahoma Sooners. All right, so here's the thing with Oklahoma. They have the complete opposite thing going on as compared to Oklahoma State. They had a very good year, all things considered. Oklahoma fans, at least the ones I discussed this with preseason, thought that this was an 8-win team. Like at the highest, maybe a 9-win or 10-win team, maybe close enough to make the playoffs. I don't think they were expecting it, though. I don't think there are many Oklahoma fans, if at all, actually expecting the Sooners to make the playoffs. And well, they wound up doing that. Won a couple of marquee games, beat Michigan at home. That was a really good win. But they had a couple of downward spirals in some of their games, specifically that loss against Texas, the loss against Ole Miss, and then the playoff loss they took against Alabama at home when they were up 17-3. And then from that point onward, they wound up losing that game. But this, all things considered, because of all the wins that they had, they beat Bama in the regular season in Tuscaloosa, beat Tennessee on the road in Neyland, beat Missouri and LSU. To me, I think this is an A-tier season for Oklahoma. I can't be S tier because they lost to Texas. But Red, what do you think?
I think it's a B tier because they lost to Texas. Their offense was anemic, especially towards the end of the season. Yeah, you beat Alabama on the road in Tuscaloosa, and then they got your ass back in the playoffs, which you did make, but still, there was just a lot left on the table by this Oklahoma team that I did not like to see. I'm going to say B tier.
All right. We're at an impasse here, chat. What do you think? Is it A-tier season for the Sooners or B? Let's see. If you told an Oklahoma fan that they were going playoff bound, they'd say you were delusional, but it happened. Granted, they came down with a case of 28-3, but it's a successful season. And that's what I said. Yeah,
that's fair.
Very, very well put. B tier, B for Sooners. Right below Alabama. A, B, A. It's a close race, but it's looking like I'm seeing majority B.
Okay.
But they made the playoffs, so it's hard for me to say. God, I don't know. I'm seeing a lot more A now, too.
But also, like, the way they lost that playoff game, they had Alabama by the balls, ready to snip, and just couldn't finish. Mm-hmm. I'd say if they lost a close one to Alabama, and it was a close game, and they were competitive throughout, then sure, we could say A tier, but
all right,
that loss to Alabama at the end sealed it. B tier.
B tier for Boomer Doomer. All right. Next up, Ole Miss. And I feel like this one is not all that debatable. Ole Miss fans, I think, had a lot of hopes for this season. It was another, considering everything that happened. Okay, so all the offseason drama. We talked about it with North Carolina. We talked about it with Michigan. We'll do it again with Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin leaves at the end of the regular season for LSU. And this was after what was a really good year for the Rebels. In fact, one of their best in program history. They won 11 regular season games. Their only loss came at Georgia, but they beat Oklahoma on the road. They beat LSU at home. They blew out Tulane, which wound up being a playoff team of their own. And then when they entered the playoffs, there weren't a lot of teams that actually there weren't a lot of fans that had high expectations for this squad. But, well, they made the playoffs. They blew out Tulane again in their first round game. And then they did what Kiffin couldn't and beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl to make the semifinals in the Fiesta Bowl. And while they lost to the Canes, they gave them a hell of a brawl. All things considered, I think this is an S tier season for Ole Miss. There weren't many Ole Miss fans that actually expected to get to the semifinals. So I'm giving the Rebs the S tier, but what do you think?
Despite Lane Kiffin fucking off in the way they did actually make a hell of a run in the postseason. Give them an S tier, man. They fucking deserve it. Well done to the Rebs. Like I don't think that there's any debate in my opinion. You could say, well, I mean, they didn't win at all. I mean, fuck, dude. They still made it that far after all the chaos that happened right at the end of the season. You win the Egg Bowl. The only other team that you lost to, you got the win back in the Sugar Bowl, and then you just die against a really good Miami team in a close one. Yeah, absolutely. S tier.
All right. Consider it some sort of consolation prize for these two teams before they screw off to Pac-12 G6 supremacy. But Oregon State and Washington State are also within this here tier list. So for funsies, we'll go ahead and rank them and where they stand, and we'll make it quick with these two squads. But yeah, we'll do Oregon State, and yeah, their season was an absolute disaster. 2-10, lost to all of their good competition, and they also won despite how bad they were. They also won Clown of the Week 1 week, November 8th, when they lost to Sam Houston and gave them their first win of the season. So, it was a terrible year for Oregon State in what was otherwise a favorable schedule. Well, a lot of Oregon State fans thought they were going to be terrible, but I don't think they thought they were going to be this bad. I think we got to give them F tier.
The only thing that's giving me any sort of shred of hope to put them in D tier is the fact that they did beat Washington State one time and force the final game of the season to be for the Pac-12 championship.
And then they lost
to
that same team.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a terrible year for Oregon State all the way around. I mean, I'm not even going to try to justify it. It's an F.
Mm-hmm.
And let's go ahead and knock out Wazoo while we're at it, since we're on the subject, because I want to keep moving because we're way over time right now.
Who cares? That's how it's always going to be. But yeah,
this is a D tier, 100%. I would say, just because of the fact that you lost to fucking Oregon State one time, and then had to beat them to clinch a Pac-12 championship and bowl eligibility, I might add.
Mm-hmm.
It's D tier.
Now, again, they finished. I mean, they did finish 7-6. It was sort of an average year for them. They beat some of their key competition: Colorado State, Toledo, Louisiana Tech, and they did get revenge on Oregon State at the end of the season. And then they beat Utah State in the Potato Bowl. So I got to throw that one out there. It's always good to win the Potato Bowl. The San Diego State one was probably their best win of the season. I'd say I'd actually give Wazoo a C tier.
Okay, fair enough. I forgot about the win against San Diego State in the Potato Bowl, but still a lot of like really questionable games in that one.
Mm-hmm. All right, back to the Power 4 squads though. The Oregon Ducks, and Oregon had a great year too. Really, really good year. It was actually better than last year because this time, at least, while they did not win the national championship like Oregon fans are hoping for, they made it all the way to the semifinals. They beat up on most of their marquee competition, beat Penn State in overtime, threw them off a cliff. On top of that, they beat USC, convincingly beat Washington, beat Iowa. Their only losses came at the hands of Indiana and then Indiana again. So, and they made it all the way to the semifinals, blew out Texas Tech. That's why the thing is I can't give them S tier because Oregon fans were reaching for a national championship this year and they didn't get there, but they got around where they wanted to and maybe a little bit more with Dante Moore. So I got to give them A tier. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, let's give them A tier. It was an improvement of last year. They actually won some important games. And they did really, really well. So, we'll give them A tier for that. Well done, Ducks. Just good God, don't ever run in Indiana again if you have anything good about your life to tell you.
Yeah. All right. Similar to Clemson, we got to talk about this absolute disaster, gigantic diarrhea bowl of whatever the shit more, what other shitty shit adjective you could throw. We got to talk about that with Penn State.
Yeah.
The Nittany Lions, my goodness, they fell off a cliff after that Oregon game. Lost in double overtime to the Ducks, and you're still thinking, oh, this Penn State team can rebound. Maybe James Franklin can win a big game somewhere down the stretch. Nope. They lost to UCLA. Let Nico put up 5 touchdowns on them. Nico Amadolivia put up 5 touchdowns on this poor sack of shit. And then after that, they lose to Northwestern, fire James Franklin for it, lose to Iowa. And then they lost most of their other games. They did rebound by beating Clemson in the Pinstripe Bowl, but this was still a disastrous year for Penn State, 7-6 overall. And then the worst part is James Franklin seems to be rebounding over Virginia Tech with that recruiting class. So I think this is an F tier season for Penn State. But where do you stand?
I mean, with the preseason expectations they had and the results we got, I mean, the hell you want me to say?
Boo!
Yeah.
You stink!
F tier.
F tier for Penn State. I think that's very, very fitting. All right, Pittsburgh, the Panthers. Now, thankfully, I'd say their preseason expectations were overall lesser off than Penn State's. Oh, wait, it's Pitt, not just. Hey, you can't just put Pittsburgh. It's got to be Pitt. Come on, I know you don't want me to look at them, but you got to. Unfortunately, that's what we have to do. All right, here we go. Here it is. Here's Pitt. So they finished the year 8-5. It was better than last year. They did do better this year than last year, but they had a lot of hope going into this year. Eli Holstein was coming back for another season, and he had a phenomenal year in 2024. So you were thinking, oh yeah, he's going to do some work. And it just never happened. They lose to West Virginia in the backyard brawl, and that alone is already bad enough. But on top of that, they lose to Louisville, lose to Notre Dame, lose to Miami, and then they lose again in the postseason to another G5 team or G6 in East Carolina. Just another average to below average year for Pitt. But they did win 8 games. They did beat quite a few of their competition. Had that win over Georgia Tech basically derailed their season. I'd say this was a C tier year for Pitt. Where do you stand?
Yeah, C tier. Just incredibly Pitt. That's how I'm going to describe this year for them. It was just incredibly Pitt.
All right, next up, Purdue, or as I say, Purdue didn't show up for this season because boy, did they not do any of that.
We don't need to look at the schedule, man. We already know.
I mean, we do, but yeah, we're gonna do it anyway. 2-10, bad year overall. They won their first 2 games and then just fell off a cliff right afterwards. No Big Ten wins. 0-9 in the Big Ten. Lost to all of their competition that they played, and then some. Wasn't even competitive. But the thing is with Purdue, it was basically the exact same level as they were last season. So that's why it's like hard for me to say that they're F tier, because in terms of fan expectations, this is where they thought Purdue was going to be. As sad as that is.
Well, I don't think you can justify a 2-10 team being anything above F tier, because good fucking God. I watched that team in person, and I can tell you from firsthand witness, that was a mistake.
As Tree says, once Pitt is ranked, they collapse. Ain't
Yeah.
that the truth? Thank you very much for the dude.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think I got anything else to say here. Purdue needs help. They need a lot of help. They need salvation from the Lord.
Go to the church and ask God to forgive you.
F.
Chat, where do you stand on this? Is it a D tier season for Purdue from your expectations, or F? Because let's be honest, did anybody in here expect Purdue to do any better than 3 or 4 wins this year?
Here's the thing, though. At a certain point, it's not about like what you expect. It's like, okay, but what the fuck did they actually do? You know what I mean? And for Purdue, they got to do something, and they didn't do anything. They just died.
Most people are saying F. So yeah.
Yeah. Like, I know you're kind of like, oh, but it was the expectations. Like, brother, if they had done one more win and gotten to 3-9, I'd probably say D. But like, goddamn.
Yeah, they were pretty stinky though. Can't disagree with that. All right, next up, Greg Schiano's Rutgers squad. And I've had conversations with the Rutgers fans before going into this season, and they had hopes for the first time in forever of being something other than bottom of the barrel. And, well, I mean, while they weren't necessarily bottom, as that belonged to Purdue, they weren't much better than that. Won only 5 games this year, finished the year 5-7. They did beat Purdue and Maryland, but they lost to most of their other competition, what was otherwise a favorable schedule for them. Even lost to this year's Penn State team. But on top of that, they lost to Minnesota in a close one by a game-winning field goal. Got blown out by Oregon, Indiana, Oregon, Illinois, and Ohio State, not Indiana. They're lucky they didn't play Indiana is all I can say about that. But yeah, just overall, like sort of a down year for what was otherwise a decent Scarlet Knights team. But the thing is, they didn't have a lot of talent going into this year. So this was I think this was a D tier year for Rutgers. Wasn't an F tier year, I think, because they at least got some wins to help them out with that, but it was lingering on like D tier.
The national championship drought for Rutgers continues for yet another year. D tier.
Shocker.
I know.
Baffling. All right, next up, South Carolina, the Gamecocks. Oh, good Lord. Shane Beamer, what happened to you?
I already got the answer for you here, and it's just because of what they had talent-wise and the expectations this team had going into it. I'm going to say F for South Carolina. Like absolute failure from A to Z. 100%.
Well, to me, the team itself wasn't even that bad. I mean, like they lost a couple of big games in terms of like blowouts, like the Oklahoma and Vandy games were ugly. The Ole Miss game too, you can include that in there, but they were competitive. Like LSU, Alabama, they were competitive in those games. Here's the thing that really because I thought I could have given them C tier. There were a lot of South Carolina fans that actually thought that this team is sort of going to take a decline this year because there were big questions about their offensive line going into this season, and well, that wound up being a big time problem for Lenore Sellers and company, and it really showed itself. So I was lingering on C tier here, but what separates it for me was the absolute unbelievably bad choke job against Texas A&M. Up by like 31-3 was the score at halftime. Up by 20. Yeah. So, there was 27 points. It was 30-3, I think. But yeah, 27 points. And you blew it. You pissed it away. So this is D tier for me, lingering on F tier. I could leave it up to the chat. Chat, what do you guys think? Is this D for South Carolina or F?
I mean, you gotta remember. You can understand like, they kept it close with a lot of teams. Yeah, but at a certain point, you gotta fucking finish.
Oh yeah, of course.
Like, and that choke job to Texas A&M, like the ultimate, like cannot finish. He got it up and they couldn't finish the job. So like that's where I'm at with it. And I think Chad agrees with me on that. Jesus Christ, it's a lot of Fs. Holy shit.
Yeah, no
mercy.
The thing is, though, like my fan base, or at least the people here who weren't South Carolina fans, were actually really high on South Carolina. That was the thing. A lot of people were high on the Gamecocks that weren't Gamecock fans because they didn't see those offensive line issues that came to fruition.
Yeah, but I mean, God, Lenore Sellers is a great quarterback, and the fact that they're wasting him in the way that they were. I'm not saying they should have been in the SEC championship or anything like that, but fuck, at least make a bowl game with that much talent on your team.
Mm-hmm.
Good Lord.
Yeah, we'll rank them F. So South Carolina, F tier season from fan expectation. All right, next up, SMU, the good old Horsies. So obviously not the season that they had last year. Same with Arizona State, but it wasn't a bad year. 9-4. They had a couple of head scratching losses. The loss to Baylor in double overtime. The loss to TCU also. That one really hurt, but they had a pretty good run. They actually had some a couple of pretty good wins. They were able to bounce back after some of those losses. Wake Forest wound up being a decent team this year, so that loss wasn't even all that bad. And along with Louisville, they did knock down Miami as well. The loss to Cal really hurt, though, because they had a path to the ACC championship again, and they pissed it away late. Mm-hmm. So I think that does sting. But overall, it wasn't a bad year for him. I would say, considering what they had, I would say it's a D or a C tier for SMU.
No, I would say a C plus, low B. Honestly, they step back. Yeah, sure, step back. They lost to Baylor at home, sure. But I'm going to cut them some slack. I mean, they had a great run last year. There was going to be some lingering like hangover kind of feeling there, but I'll meet you in the middle at C. That's fine. I mean, it's still a lot better than what they used to have.
Yeah. All right. This is a tricky one here. Stanford. This is a very tricky one because most Stanford fans going into this year, no expectations. The expectation that was down in the dumps. Wasn't even that. They thought they weren't going to survive. And well, it looked that way early. Lost to Hawaii in week 0. And past that point, we're thinking, oh yeah, nothing well is about to go for them. They lose to BYU, start out 0-2, beat Boston College. Then they kind of went on a run for a little bit, beat San Jose State, Florida State, beat Cal at the end of the year. That's the big thing for me is that they cannot have an F tier because they got that big win over Cal. And I think that went a long way for them. But then, they got beat down in most of their other competition. I think all things considered, this was a buffer year. They had no expectations going into this, so it's hard to rank them. So I'd say we give them anywhere for like a low C to a high D.
Let's give them D tier. A team with no expectations does not deserve to be in teams that actually have expectations.
True.
And did okay. Like that would imply Stanford did okay. If they made a bowl game, I'd give them a C tier. But this was just not good. The wall of fucking trees. My God.
There was some sort of wall. There's like a wall made out of like a wooden fence. All right. God, boy, oh boy.
What do we do with these fuckers? Like, what the hell do we do with the orange?
This is a disaster here. Syracuse finished the season 3-9. Lost to Tennessee early in the year. Now they did have a run for a little bit. Won 3 games, and those are the only 3 games that they won. They beat UConn and Clemson. And that Clemson win it looked to be a good win at the time, but then everything came apart. They lose Steve Angeli, the Jelly Bean, in that Clemson game. And then from that point onward, no longer were they even competitive. Like they just flatlined to a team that was just so unbelievably garbage. So it's hard for me to say quarterback injuries do come into play here. But we did the same thing with Missouri when talking about their quarterback situation. Coaching has to play a part.
I mean,
So to me, it's a D or an F. But you tell me what you think.
It's an F, and the only reason why I'm sorry to say it's an F is because of the fact they did beat Clemson. But even with the injury to Steve Angeli to beat Clemson, you gotta show some life, man. And the fact that they just up and died after that with all the hype and, momentum they had, I got no choice, dude. I feel bad for them. This is the one F I feel bad for giving, but it has to be an F. There's no other way to go around it. It's just shit.
Mm-hmm. Not wrong about that. All right, here we go. Tennessee. The Big Orange, my Big Orange, the good old talent fee. I know their schedule by heart, but I want you guys to see it. Who's the first?
Illinois.
They're not even okay. that I'll give you that one. That's rage. That's obvious rage bait, and I fell for it. All right. Yeah, that's what I get for the comment about
got them, boys.
Miami earlier. Yeah, that's what I get for the Indiana Miami comment earlier. All right, Tennessee. So from where I stand, we finished the season 8-5. It was, Tennessee fans are crazy. We're a delusional fan base who always thinks that team A, whatever we have, it's going to take us to the promised land every single time. We fall for it, fell for it again this year, and we started out strong. We had that really good performance against Georgia. Started out the season 5-1, but every game that we played was such an absolute drag because of the defense. The defense was absolutely horrendous. We dragged by Mississippi State, dragged by Arkansas, got beat down on the big stage by Georgia, Bama, Oklahoma, Vandy. We did beat Florida. That's the big thing for me, is that we finally drained the swamp. Even though it was one of the worst Florida teams we've ever seen, we finally got past that hump and finally got the monkey off our back. That's the thing that separates me when comparing this from a C-tier team to a D-tier season. Even with the loss to Illinois in the Music City Bowl, that didn't really change my mind on it. But we went through this entire year and didn't beat a single team with a winning record. That's just absolutely terrible. It's inexcusable if you're a team with as talent rich as Tennessee. So fan expectation, there were majority of the reasonable Tennessee fans thought this was going to be an 8-4 type of year, and even I thought that, and well, we lived up right to it, 8-4. So but you lose to Vandy. It's hard for me to say. Red, you be the deciding factor on this one. C tier or D?
I'm going to say C tier. They had a lot of expectations and they just fell flat, but that doesn't mean that we should make them a D tier program, because they still have a lot of good shit. That offense was really good. So, I'm going to say C tier.
Yeah. All right. Texas A&M, the Aggies. Well, this goes without saying. Great year for Texas A&M. Some will disagree, but it was a great year, and I think that's how you put in the schedule. Oh my goodness, dadgummit. What is it? It's because I put an underscore instead of a. There we go. All right, Texas A&M 11-2. All things considered, you talk about those first 11 weeks, first 12 weeks of the season. It was incredible. It was a run for the Aggies that they have never seen before. Beat Notre Dame early on in the year, and then you beat Florida, you beat LSU. The offense was running on all cylinders in a majority of those games. Marcel Reed was having himself a great day every single day. And then Texas happened. And we saw this coming because A&M was not they had one of the easiest runs besides that Notre Dame win, because that was their best win overall. I think we know that. They lose to Texas at the end of the season, put a spoiler on what was otherwise a phenomenal regular season, but they still had a first-round game at home, and they pissed it away. They pissed themselves so many times on offense, and despite only letting Miami score 10 points, they couldn't even score a single touchdown. That offense was absolutely horrendous in the game. The play calling was terrible. They crapped the bed, but it was still a great, great year for A&M overall. So I'm lingering on anywhere from A- to B+ with A&M. Where do you stand?
I'd say A-. Like, you got to look at the summary of everything here. It's still a great season. They didn't beat their rival and they didn't win the playoff, but they got there. Mm-hmm. And that's a hell of an improvement. Very true. I'd say next year, if they got to, we've been here so long, my fucking studio battery powered light went out. If you go and you look at it from the perspective of like the fans, like, sure, those last two games are horrible, but the overall is still great. Like, you did a lot more shit than you've done in years. So, yeah, I'll give them A.
Yeah. This comment says it pretty good. Josef Stalin with the 5 says, as an Aggie, I feel A, since Elko finally gave us a winning culture, plus the highs of winning at South Bend and Death Valley. Very true.
Definitely.
Very, very true.
Yeah.
Hard to argue with that. All right. Final row here. TCU is up next. And the Horned Frogs, not a bad year for them overall. Josh Hoover wound up being one of the most electric weapons the Big 12 had to offer. Finished the year at 9-4. Couple of marquee wins. That win over SMU and the blowout win at North Carolina were a couple of good ones at the start of the season. Most of their losses came to quality competition from the conference. I mean, Iowa State, BYU, Kansas State. I mean, the Kansas State one was probably the most head-scratching loss of the season. And that was because their defense really let them down. And that was kind of a curse that happened throughout most of the season. Their defense had several games where they just laid flat on the ground and disappeared off the face of the earth. But they had wins over Houston, Cincinnati, and then the absolute tomfoolery that was the Alamo Bowl, where they won that game despite, well, everything. So not a bad year overall for the good old horned shit posters, as their Twitter would tell you. They kind of expected this, I'd say, anywhere around this range because of how crazy the Big 12 is. I would say this was a B tier year for TCU, just above SMU.
Yeah, I would agree with that, honestly, to be completely fair. I mean, TCU overall, a good season in general, but just, they're on the right track. So I think if you're TCU, you're thinking very positively about it.
Mm-hmm. All right, next up, Texas Tech, the Red Raiders. I feel like this one's a gimme, in my opinion. A lot of people are going to talk about that blowout loss in the playoffs. Putting up 0 points in the college football playoffs is embarrassing. It is a humiliating way to go out. I will admit that. But even with all the transfers they got, even with all the talent they had, most people, including the fans and analysts, did not think this team was winning the Big 12. They didn't. But not only did they win the Big 12, they beat most of their competition, had that lone loss to Arizona State, but then went into the Big 12 championship, won that first time they did it ever. This Texas Tech team will go down to history as one of their best that they ever had. And most Texas Tech fans would probably agree with me on this. I've got Texas Tech as an S-tier season. I think this was an S-tier year for them. What do you think?
I think that's fair. You win the Big 12, first conference title since the 50s. Like, you cannot everything after the Big 12 championship is just gravy, right? So, like, you're playing with house money at that point. I would dare say that this was just an excellent season from top to bottom. Sure didn't end the way you wanted it to, but hey, you know what? You got a ring, got some bling. Who cares? Great job, Texas Tech. Proud of you.
Very, very, very good job, Red Raiders. All right, next up, Texas, the Longhorns. Well, sometimes they're back, sometimes they're not. This was a year where they were definitely not back. Nope. But they did finish with at least a pretty good record, 10-3. But they lost to Ohio State, sort of dragged through a couple of their wins. They beat Vandy. That was a good win right there, I would have to say. They beat Oklahoma in the Red Woo Wobbly, so that's another good win. And then they also beat A&M. They beat A&M and then beat Michigan convincingly in the Citrus Bowl. Here's the thing, though. I think this season is definitely – it's hard for me to say that it's a B-tier season for Texas because they were close. They were close to making the playoffs, and had they done what they were supposed to and only lost those 2 games against Ohio State and Georgia, this was a playoff team right here. But instead what happened was they lost to one of the worst Florida teams that we've seen in an era, or at least in our lifetimes. Losing to that Florida team is absolutely horrendous for Texas and goes in as a very it was such a bad loss. There were Texas fans screaming to fire Steve Sarkisian. That's how bad it was. So in my opinion, this was a high C, low B type of season. You'd be the deciding factor on that.
I see. The Citrus Bowl win saved it from being a D, in my opinion. Just an absolute top to bottom mid-off. The expectations they had were not even close to being met. So it is what it is. They're not back.
Right. All right. UCLA, the Bruins. So the thing is with UCLA is that they had a lot of high hopes and expectations going into this year, actually, because of the pickup of Nico Amadolivia. And well, that ship sank pretty fast, didn't it? They went 0-4 to start the year, lost to UNLV, New Mexico, Northwestern. Their first win was obviously the Penn State win, which nobody expected. And then they went on a bit of a run, beat Michigan State, then beat Maryland, won 3 games in a row. Went 3-4, and then the wheels fell off right afterwards. Lost to Indiana by 50, lost to Nebraska post Raiola injury, then lost to Ohio State, Washington, USC. Weren't even competitive in any of those games. Went kind of right back to the UCLA we know him to be as. Finished the season 3-9. So there were fans that had expectations that Nico was going to be something. It's hard for me to say, but I think this is a low D or F tier season for him. Where do you stand on that?
Just because they did beat Penn State and absolutely killed the Nittany Lions and any hope they had, I'll give them a D. Because it shows that they had some fight, and it shows they were still trying to win, and they weren't just phoning it in. Whereas I wouldn't put them in the same realm as the F tiers just because they showed heart. And I'm not talking, I know you hate Nico. I'm not going to give him much praise, but he fucking balled in that Penn State game. And
Yeah, I don't
showed
hate him.
what
I just think he's a clown.
capable of. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I'll give them a. Despite the bullshit with Deshaun Foster getting fired and everything else that happened, there's some things if you're a UCLA fan you take away from, like, well, it sucked, but a couple of those wins were nice. Could have been a hell of a lot worse.
Mm-hmm. Very well so. All right, next up, USC, the Trojans. And, about as expected for USC. Nothing out of the ordinary for him here. Finished the season 9-4. There were USC fans thinking that they could climb to the top of the realm and make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And we got to include their recruiting class into the conversation here. USC has got one of the best recruiting classes right now in the country.
What the fuck are they gonna do with it?
That's something. Yeah, no, I know that is something worth noting, but it is something we've got to talk about. But yeah, no, they don't have a single sort of marquee win other than the Michigan win, 31-13 win over Michigan. That was probably their best win of the season. But they lost to Illinois, lost to Notre Dame, Oregon, TCU. They were actually winnable games for them, but since their defense always is with Lincoln Riley as a pair of floating dingleberries, nothing ever happened. Nothing really, really good happened for this team, which otherwise could have been really, really good with Jaden Miava at the helm. So it's again another year of just a sort of a terrible to mid-tier defense. An offense that was actually pretty good. And I'd say this was a round where USC fans might have thought they were going to go. So I'd say it was a C tier season.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know what else to really call it here. They fell short of expectations, but they didn't do horrible. So yeah, C tier's fine.
Yep. All right. Next up, Utah, the Utes. And I'm going to say this about Utah. They thought they were going to do better than last year because they went 4-8, but I don't think 11 wins was on the table for them necessarily, but they did just that. Won a bunch of marquee games. Their only losses came at the hands of Texas Tech and BYU, who were the two teams that actually made the Big 12 championship, but then they cleared house on everybody else that they played. There were moments throughout the season, though, that their defense or their offense kind of took turns and looked suspect as hell, but they did finally pull out all of those wins and finished this regular season at 10-2, and then as a consolation prize, beat whatever was left of Nebraska's team and finished the season 11-2. Overall, it was a really good year, I think, for Utah. And I'd go as far as to say that they had an A-tier level season. I don't think Utah fans or any fans in general thought that this team was going to be up there at that level.
I mean, I'll give them an A. Well done, Utah. Despite all the bullshit and the uncertainties, they played extremely well. They were in the fight for the Big 12 championship down to the final weeks, and they were only a few pieces short of making a run. Who knows what the fuck happens to them next year, but you're pretty proud of the Utes this year.
All right, next up, Vanderbilt, the Vanderbilt Commodores.
Your favorite team.
Oh yeah, you already know it. Go Doors, anchor up or whatever the hell. All right.
Go Doors. What the fuck?
All right. Well, here's the thing with Vandy. All things considered, you can throw out the LiveQuest Bowl results. You can throw out the results at Tuscaloosa or at Texas. This was Vandy's best season in program history, at least in the modern era by far. Nothing that we've ever seen from this program compares to the success that they saw in this season. 10 wins, finished the season 10-3. Diego Pavia finishing as a Heisman finalist, and despite how much of an asshat everybody already knows he is, he got Vandy all the way to that spot. Won several marquee games, beat LSU, Missouri, had several ranked wins, beat Tennessee in Knoxville convincingly. I mean, he did exactly what Vandy hoped for and more. He came in with a lot of expectations himself, And I don't think even with Vandy's hefty expectations, because they were hoping for like what 7 or 8 wins. Even the most like delusional Vandy fans I know did not see this coming. So to me, I think this is a given S tier for Vandy.
Not quite. Not
don't
so,
think so?
fast, my friend.
You don't think so?
No. Best season ever can only do so much when this team still had some losses that just make you go, oh man, if only you had one or two more things that went right, one or two more pieces. They had Alabama on the ropes at times in their game against them in Tuscaloosa, but they couldn't put it away. They had to come back down from way behind to even make that game against Texas passable. And then they die against Iowa in the bowl game. Granted, best season of all time. No doubt about it. Doesn't help that your quarterback was being a fucking piece of shit after he lost the Heisman to Fernando Mendoza instead of being a good sport about it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but this is fan perception, not
fan perception. It's
perception.
an S. Reality, I'm saying A.
All right then. Well, I guess we'll leave it up to the chat then. I say S, you say A. Chat, where do you stand? Is this an S tier season fan perception wise by Vandy or A?
I mean, I understand I might be in the minority here. That's just my opinion. But
I mean, it's fair. I mean, like, yeah, no, it was their best season. I mean, they're always going to be thinking about how they could have done better. But if they fall off a cliff and die again, then you know most people are going to be thinking back at this season, saying how wonderful it was.
Shockingly, there's a lot of A's in the chat. Wow.
Somebody said F. I wish I could put them at F.
Okay, well, chat has spoken.
We'll put it at A. I think it should be S, but that's once I put this on Twitter, I'm sure I'm gonna have to hear the Vandy was projected to win like 6 games and then they won. Yeah, I know. $20 says S.
Well, shit. Now we got to put him at S.
Okay, well now we got to put him.
Yeah, now we got. He literally bought his way.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. We can't argue against money. So there you go. Thank you very much for that. Boy, we
just
sound
like NIL.
We sound like Lane Kiffin now. Can't argue against money.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
All right,
next Canadian. Oh, Canadian. Oh.
Next up on the list, the Hokies of Virginia Tech finished the regular season 3-9. I think this is a given here, but Virginia Tech fans, while their expectations weren't necessarily high for a program that's always kind of been lingering around the mid-tier area, boy, what a disaster this year was. Only 3 wins, and only 2 of them came against power conference opponents. They finished 2-6 in the conference. They got blown out by Old Dominion, which sealed the fate of the tenure of Brent Pry. Then everything past that was just more or less an abject disaster. So probably F tier for Virginia Tech, but where do you stand on that?
I mean, here's the thing, man. They made their game against Old Dominion into a fucking rivalry. So I'm going to steal your bit and just say it's F tier.
Yeah, no, Virginia Tech, no doubt a disastrous season for them. The opposite can be said for Virginia, though. My goodness, what a year Virginia had. So I'm going to say this. Whatever you thought of Vandy's expectations, Virginia was even lower than that. They served as an Arizona State when they had Cam Skibbity, projected one of the last, one of the bottom of the barrel teams of the conference. And not only did they flip that on its head by winning a bunch of games, but they went even further beyond. They made the ACC championship. D for Duke fraternity test. Wow, well said. But yeah, anyway, Virginia made the ACC championship. They beat a bunch of their competition to get there, beat Florida State in double overtime, beat Louisville in overtime as well. They played in 4 overtime games and came out winners in 3 of them. Look, I'm going to say the same thing I said for Vandy. Fan perception being included in this and being the main factor, Virginia was projected to win like 3 or 4 games this year, and Chandler Morris brought them to freaking 11 wins, including a win over Missouri in the Gator Bowl. 11-3 season. I think this has got to be an S tier, but you tell me what you think.
No, I agree with it. I mean, that great, not only just a great winning season for them, but great moments. That field rush they had against Florida State in week 5 will go down in college football immortality. Just a great season for them. Compared to their expectations, you cannot deny. No, they didn't win the ACC championship, but man, did they show that they were really being looked down upon and went way above what they were paid to do. So, fuck yeah. I'm okay with S. I know no college football and the loss to Duke and yada, yada, yada. I get it. I do. But they were literally expected to win maybe 3 games. And then they do that. I'm going to stick with S. I'm going to agree with Squid. And y'all can just, you want to put them to A tier, somebody can pay $20. We'll put them to A tier right now.
All right. Let's move on here to Wake Forest, another ACC bottom dweller, at least in a lot of people's eyes. And it looked to be that way in that first week of the season. Kennesaw State nearly beat them. It was a 10-9 type of ball game. From that point on, where people thought Wake Forest was they were going to be like a 2-win team. And they turned that on its head real quick. After losing to Georgia Tech in overtime, they went on a run, beat Virginia Tech, then Oregon State, The SMU win was a really good win for Wake Forest. In fact, they rushed the field because of that win. Then after that, they won 3 out of their last 5, Virginia, North Carolina, Delaware, and then beat Mississippi State as a consolation prize in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. So for getting a Mayo bath, I'd have to put Wake Forest here at around a B tier. It's a really good run for them.
Yeah, I think that's fair. High B tier for sure. Like they did really, really well this year. For someone that kind of just came out of the woodwork and made a lot of noise at times during the year, I mean, well done. I'm not going to give them A. The best they could do was Duke's Mayo Bowl, but that's still a great honor to dump a bunch of white liquid on your head coach. I'm sorry,
Right.
I couldn't even finish that.
Out, go, leave the premises.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
All right. Error not found. You can hush. All right. Next up, the Washington Huskies. And they finished with the regular season record of 8-4. Not a bad year overall. They went to a 9-4 overall. Had a couple of marquee wins. Beat Washington State in the Apple Cup. That goes a long way, all things considered. But then, there were people that thought they might have given Ohio State a shot, and they didn't go through with that. Lost 24-6. Lost to Michigan 24-7. Wisconsin. The Wisconsin losses to me was really bad. That if you had beaten that team and then lost to the other 3, Ohio State, Oregon, and Michigan, that would have been I think this would have been somewhere around a high B to A tier season, but you lose to a team like that, and we got to lower you a bit. But they did finish 9-4. I think this is a low B, high C type of season for Washington. I'd give him a C if I were being honest. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, mid. I'd say C tier. Just they didn't do anything extraordinary. They didn't really blow us out of the water. They did improve, but see, they did fine. It's okay.
All right. Final 2 teams here.
Yep.
West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home out of this program.
To my bed. Holy shit.
It went to the graveyard here. Oh my goodness. What a disaster. What a disaster the Neo Rich Rod era was. Of course, it's not over. They've still got a long ways to go. But boy, this got ugly pretty quick. It only took them 2 weeks for that to fall off. They lost to Ohio, and that did not look good. Now the Bobcats wound up being at least decent, but no business as a Power 4 losing to a G6 just isn't. But then they did beat Pitt in week 3, and that balanced things out. Obviously, if you're a West Virginia fan or any other fan base that knows the Mountaineers, you know damn well that that's the game that matters to them the most. It's probably the only game that matters to them and they won the only game that matters. So that goes a long way for them. But then they lost it. Basically, everybody else, with the exception of Houston and Colorado, finished the season 4-8. You got to take that into account. I think this was a D tier year for Virginia, or West Virginia. I mean,
they did improve slightly, ever so slightly.
Neil Brown had a better record, by the way.
Yeah.
Neil Brown made a bowl game in his final season.
Oh yeah. Okay, sure. They already banned me from the state anyway. Fuck West Virginia. D.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was
Really ending on a fucking downer over here with these fuckers. Good
D,
God.
Yeah, D for Dan White ain't coming back. All right, next up. Or the last one we've got. The last one, Wisconsin, the Badgers. Goes without saying, but it's another abject failure of a team. Because boy, were they bad or not. Now, here's the thing. A lot of the general public, including Wisconsin fans, thought that this was how it was going to turn out. They didn't have any high expectations. Their quarterback situation was a disaster before the season even began. If your best quarterback on the roster is Billy Edwards, my Lord, it's a setup for what was going to be an obvious disaster. And well, that's exactly how it turned out post the Alabama game. Then they lost pretty much every other game after it, with the big time other than the big time upsets of Washington and Illinois, which helped that out. Everything else just blah. So in my opinion, this isn't an F tier. I think it's another D tier. Just somewhere around poopy stinky.
The only thing that saved them was that Illinois win. Genuinely, that's the only thing that saved them. Even if they had just beaten Washington and then lost the rest of their games, I'd say it's an F tier. But the fact that they somehow squeezed 2 wins out of Big Ten conference play, I applaud them for. They had a meat grinder. This is where you can genuinely say the schedule was fucking brutal. Like, they had an absolute meat grinder of the schedule. I knew going into that season that they were fucked. They were beyond fucked. There was no hope. And yeah, there was no hope. And the quarterbacks kept getting injured too, which doesn't fucking help anybody. The team is just an absolute tire fire. The only reason why they're not in F is because they got an upset win somewhere against Illinois. Like, some fucking how, some fucking way. Man, they got fucking hosed on that. I hope to God their schedule next year is a little bit easier. The Badger fans, it's bad enough that my ass wrecked them last year in my story time video, and then their team wrecked them because I was absolutely right about the predictions they were going to have.
Mm-hmm.
Golly, I can't even blame Luke. You can't blame Luke Fickell for that, because like, what the fuck you gonna do with that schedule?
Yeah. Arctic Phoenix with the 5, Wisconsin D. We had a tough schedule. We got hammered this year by Ohio State and Iowa. We did beat Illinois and Washington. Yeah, that's what saves you from F, in my opinion, because you did have those wins. But I mean, you finished the season, what, 4-8? Yeah, no, there's still an ugly year overall. And most Wisconsin fans can agree with me on that.
Yep.
All right, well, there you have it. That is the entire Power 4 tier list based on fan expectation. I think we did a pretty good job on that, I'd have to say. I hope so, because this took us way longer than I thought.
Yeah, no, I figured that this idea, when we came up with this idea last week, we kind of figured, yeah, we'll just rank all 66 teams. They got to take us more than 2 hours. 3 hours later, fuck, I want to do the group of 5, but man, we're not going to do all the group of 5 teams at once. I think next week we'll do maybe like,
no, we can do it all at once. There's less G5 teams than there are Power 4, I'm pretty sure.
check again.
You check it.
There were 60 some odd teams in the Power 4, right? There's 134 teams in FBS. Do the math.
66 minus 134 equals my balls. Who cares? We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We always do.
Man.
We'll find a way.
Yeah.
Well, I think we went a little too. I think we went a little too long on some of those teams there. Plus, on top of that, I blame your kid growing up. That's not him. Why did he do that?
It's not his fault. You know,
why did he do that?
Yeah, well,
I know Clemson's terrible, but come on.
I know he
can't be
threw
that
up
bad.
right around the same time we were talking about Clemson, and it's just like he must have heard me too much because he's a smart boy. He knows good football when he sees it, man. When we were at the Elder and St. X high school playoff game a couple of weeks back, and he was jumping up and down every time he saw a touchdown. I was like, yeah, this is good football.
68 is your answer. Thank you, Sheldon Cooper. Thank you very much.
So
all right.
he knows good football, and man, he definitely did not. He does, but he'll be okay. He'll be all right.
I guess we got to go ahead and put wraps on this show. This is our longest show, and I think it's fitting now that we've got to go over all of the teams from previous. But yeah, join us back next week. We'll do the group of 5, group of 6.
Yep. Well, group of 5 because we put the Pac-12 in here randomly.
That's true. So it is G5. All right, we're great, spectacular. 2 down, only 100 something more to go. All right, great job, everybody.
Woohoo!
Brett, thank you for joining me on an extra long FBS report. Thank you to you guys for being a part of this show. You guys are all wonderful people. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you guys again next Monday. Red, tell us what you got going on before we head on out of here.
I'm pretty sure once I get off camera, Mo's going to want to kick my ass for having this stream go for so fucking long. But after she's done beating my ass, which is every night, by the way. I'm just kidding.
Oh, my goodness. Just like Miami and Indiana.
Yeah, no, she beats me up worse than the Hoosiers beat up Miami, Illinois, all them guys. Like, it's awful. Like,
Yeah, you forgot one.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You can't exclude them.
No, I can't. Shut the fuck up. I'm working on the Lane Kiffin video. Working on that still. Give me a couple of weeks. That's the voiceover's taking a while, and then everyone's like, "Poor Red." Like,
yeah, really.
Listen. Mo is a badass. Let me tell you something. She's a wonderful woman, and I'm so lucky to have her in my life. And she is a badass, but don't piss her off. Just shut the fuck up. Don't fucking hanker.
Yeah, you're digging. You're digging. Keep digging. Keep digging.
Fucked. I'm sleeping on the couch, but I'll be streaming UMass Dynasty this Saturday night for my Dynasty mode. So we'll keep that up, and hopefully the Lane Kiffin video it'll come out sooner than later. But yeah, that's all I got, Squiddy.
All right. Well, over here, Tardaria Dynasty, same time as always, 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday night. The college football chaos finale, the postseason edition. I know I told you guys it was going to be Wednesday. Some things have come up, and I've got to push it back a little bit further. It will. I promise you this. Yeah, I know. That's I believe me. I'm punching myself worse than anybody about it.
Yeah, punch yourself in the dick.
I can promise you guys this. It will come out. It will come out before the end of this month. And I'm looking for the release date to be Friday. I'm having to bring everything together. I've got multiple content creators working with me on this. So that's going to be a spectacular time. You guys stay tuned. It's going to be really good. I'm really excited about the final product, but one thing is I'm not going to rush through this. I want it to be as polished as it possibly can be. And I'm going through the ringer to make sure that it is that way. Plus, got plenty of other thingy-mathingies after that as well. So stay tuned for that along with everything else. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up here for you guys tonight. Thank you all again for being so patient with us. And we'll see you guys next week for another edition. We'll go through all the G5 teams, and then we're going to start bringing some special guests on here sooner or later. So you guys stay tuned for that. We'll see you guys next time. And of course, as always, don't forget, power to Tardaria. And we'll see you guys next time.
Whatever you do, don't go running outside naked. It's like negative temperatures outside, cold as balls, and you will lose them if you do that.
Sounds like somebody speaking from experience.
I'm not actually speaking from experience. Good God, they would would go to jail.
Yeah, right. We'll see about that.
Yeah. All right. Good night, everybody. Have a good
Take care.